for the month of May. The agenda is before you, and I'd like to acknowledge that the land upon which we gather is the unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq, and we pay our respects to the Indigenous Mi'kmaq people of this territory, past, present, and future. Does anyone around the table have any conflict of interest with any of the items that are before us tonight? If not, we'll move on to approval of the agenda. Are there any additions, deletions, or changes to the order of the agenda that anyone would like to propose? If not, I'll entertain a motion for approval of the agenda as presented. Thank you. Second? Thank you. Councillor Jackson. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Anyone against? Motion carried. The minutes of the regular monthly meeting of the regular council minutes of April 9th, 2025 are in your package. Are there any additions, deletions, or changes to those minutes that anyone would like to request? If not, could I have a motion to approve those minutes? Yep. Thank you. Second? Seconder? Thank you. Yes. Oh, okay, thank you. All those in favor? Aye. Anyone against? Motion carried. Any business arising from those minutes that we won't be covering here tonight? If not, we'll move on to presentations from the floor. Any presentations from the floor? No presentations tonight. My report, I didn't do a report. I was away for pretty well the whole month of April, and I did attend the Asian Heritage Month celebrations at the University of Prince Edward Island on the weekend, on Saturday afternoon, and represented the town along with the Deputy Mayor, Gallant. We attended, and it was a great thing to go to. I want to thank Deputy Mayor Gallant for acting for me while I was away from April 3rd to the 23rd, and maybe I'll ask Deputy Mayor Gallant if he has any items he'd like to update the council and the meeting on.
No, I just I chaired April 24th. I think it was with the Meals on Wheels. They have a chapter here in Stratford. So I had snacks and sandwiches and so on, tea and sandwiches, and had a great afternoon with the Meals on Wheels and how they were increasing their membership there. So they were very thankful for the town giving them the free room and so on, and having the meeting there. So, and they're very thankful for the grant donation from the town itself, and of course they used the mailbox here for the mail. So it was a great meeting that afternoon, and meet a lot of people from Stratford, and the stuff they do is unreal, and people. Seniors shut in and so on, and for the Meals on Wheels went over really well, Your Worship.
Oh, thank you. That's and thanks again for acting for me. And
oh, yeah.
I know that there's a lot of things to be done every week, and I appreciate you stepping up. Thanks very much. I'd like to welcome Councillor Cox. I guess we've already gone through items.
On my watch, it's 5 minutes.
No problem. No problem. It's we just barely got started, but I did want to bring to your attention and just the declaration of conflict of interest. There's no items on the agenda. Do you have any conflict? Okay, thank you.
I think he's on a Newfoundland time, Your Worship.
I'm on Surrey time.
Surrey.
Okay. Yeah. So that's my report. Any questions or any comments on my report and the Deputy Mayor's report? If not, I'll ask the Chief Administrative Officer, Jeremy Crosby, for his report.
Thank you, Your Worship. My report is in your package for the things that I did and attended to in the month of April, but I'll just go over a few highlights. Met with the Chair of the Crossroads Fire Department to discuss operations and funding for new vehicles and equipment. Good discussion there. More to come. Along with the Mayor and Deputy Mayor and the Deputy CEO, met with candidates running in the provincial election during the month of April, and we had some really good discussions with all the candidates, and we're looking forward to discussing things with the new MP that's been selected there, and we're arranging a meeting with him as we speak, so should be fairly soon that we'll be in to meet with him. Attended a meeting with infrastructure and recreation staff to discuss the procurement of construction of all the outdoor amenities at the community campus property. Things are going to start to go forward there on all the sports fields here very soon. Also attended a meeting with the Director of Infrastructure and Deputy CEO and Director of Recreation to review the changes that were suggested in the organizational review, and those are being implemented. A lot of the changes were implemented when the report first came out, but a few of these took some time to go over the right way to roll that out to staff. Continuing negotiations with CATCC and the transit operator on a new contract, and we hope to have something by midsummer on that to present to council. And attended the Federation of Prince Edward Island Municipalities annual meeting. Good meeting, and at the meeting there were some really interesting speakers discussing topics on artificial intelligence, community policing, climate action, and tariff proofing the municipalities. So it was good to attend that. And also I participated in a meeting with the mayor and deputy CEO and a resident interested in discussing heritage items in the town, and some comments on our upcoming 30th anniversary celebration, so which is tomorrow evening. So looking forward to that. Any questions on my report?
Just wondering if provided maybe if there's an update, if it's not, that's fine. Just on the negotiations with respect to the transit.
It's been a little slow. There are a few things that we're trying to get out of the way that are fairly easy, but with regard to the fare box and route selections and how that will go in the future is taking a little longer, but we do have someone that's dedicated to the file in Charlottetown that's been also dealing with the transit operator directly, but we do have several upcoming meetings, but we hope to have something here really soon, and I think it will be a good contract.
Great, thank you.
Any other questions? All right, thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, we'll now move to next item on the agenda is Safety Services Report, and the chair of that committee is Councillor Ron Dowling. I'll ask him to give his report.
Thank you, Worship. The Safety Services Committee met on April 22nd, 2025. A couple of items from that. The fire department is looking at furthering the number of they call Knox boxes within the community, and these are in buildings that might otherwise have to have someone called out if there is a report of a fire or an alarm going in a building, and rather than waiting for a key holder to arrive, the Knox box would enable the fire department to access a key to the building through that secure box. And so the department is exploring options now and how that might roll out, and how the town might participate in that in some way, shape or form, but it's early stages yet. But I just wanted to bring it to council's attention. That is something that the department's looking at. It's kind of a terrific initiative in order to save time, and sometimes in situations of fires, time's of the essence. So, and we also, Corporal Painter of the RCMP provided an overview of policing services within the community, and I will ask Corporal Painter, if he will, to come up and he can provide council with an overview for the month of April.
I didn't see him there. I want to welcome him. Thank you. I should have welcomed you right off the
Thank you.
top
No,
there.
that's all
Yeah,
good.
welcome. Thanks for coming.
Yeah, thanks for having me. So the month of April, the RCMP in Stratford had 337 occurrences, which is down slightly from the month before. Of those 337 occurrences, 56% of those were traffic offenses, 35 step files within the community jurisdiction, 2 impaired drivers that were charged. We had 9 motor vehicle collisions, which is pretty consistent with last month as well. 51 summary offense tickets issued in Stratford alone, 35 of those being speeding related, and 67 warnings were issued. We had 10 theft files
were, of our higher numbers here, like we have 10 theft occurrences, 6 of those were being gas-related occurrences again. 15 mischief occurrences, which seems like a lot. I know we talked about that last month, but again, it's kind of how they were scored. 5 of them were noise complaints. 5 of those were related to intoxicated people. So that's kind of how they were scored. As far as community involvement, during April, so Constable McDonald, Corporal Pierce, along with his dog Nitro, he's our dog man, and myself attended Chance's Daycare on Georgetown Road, visit with the children and the staff there. They enjoyed the dog, probably more than us, I guess. Constable McGinnis and youth outreach worker Brad Cullickett attended Stratford Elementary School to do a social media online safety presentation to parents and staff there one of the evenings. Constable Dowling attended Stratford Elementary School when the Easter Seals ambassador was there. I believe you were there as well, right?
Yep, that's right, yep.
Constable Doucette attended the Citizens on Patrol meeting, and as Mr. Dowling said there, I attended the Safety Services meeting along with them. So it's, yeah, numbers are pretty consistent, I think, related to last month. Already this month, it's nicer weather is bringing people out. Today was very busy, so yeah, no, it's been going well.
Yep.
No major issues, I don't think. Last month, anyways. So yeah.
My barometer is always how many people stop me in the grocery store and complain about speeding, and that hasn't happened for a couple of months now. So,
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, so that's
good.
my indicator that you guys are doing a really good job.
Yeah,
So,
no,
yeah.
that's good to hear. Again, like as the nicer weather comes out, we'll notice more of that, I'm sure, right? More people trying to get somewhere faster than they need to be, but that comes with the weather.
I got a quick question,
Sure.
sorry. So the people that didn't know that their credit card didn't take at the gas pumps or whatever, is there a database for PEI of the people who do this kind of thing and, their names, their license plate numbers, whatever? I'm just curious, like,
Or
Queens,
repeat
Kings,
offenders.
repeat offenders, people that, oh, I'm sorry, I just didn't notice my card. I mean, everyone knows your card goes through. I mean,
Right. It tells you on the screen.
yes, yeah, it does.
Yeah, the database we do use, the police, all the police and PI do use it. It's called PROS, and we do track it on there, the license plate, the person, where it was done. So if I tapped my card or didn't tap my card and got gas and left,
Right.
the gas station will call us and say, hey, Matt Painter was here, this is his car, he's driving a white SUV, and this is his license plate, so it would be attached to our file. Then we reach out to the registered owner, say, hey, you didn't pay for your gas, or you failed to pay for your gas, or your card didn't go through, you need to return and do that. So it is a civil issue,
Right.
yeah, like,
It's too bad, but you're seeing a little
It
more.
is.
And sometimes there is honest mistakes. Obviously there is.
yes.
But
yeah.
when you see the posting on, on social media that was sent up by the police, whatever, and you see it's at 9:30 at night and the person's wearing sunglasses, a dark hat pulled down, and a hoodie, and,
Yes,
there's mud on the license plate and.
Yeah, we do see repeat offenders, and the gas stations pick up on it pretty quick too. Like some of the workers, they'll call, or they won't activate the pump if that's the case, or they'll call as soon as the person rolls up just to try to get ahead of it.
Yeah.
But I would say the majority of them, a very high percentage, are accidental. Like
Yes, exactly.
They tap their card and they think it goes through, but it doesn't actually work. You call them and say, hey, you forgot to pay for your gas. And they'll say, I'm sorry, I'll head right back and pay for
Yeah.
that. So,
It's
but
a-
you're
yeah.
right, there is the odd.
Well, it's unfortunate that the minority is causing the other people to be put under a different light and they shouldn't be,
Right.
because everybody can make mistakes, right?
That's
So-
right, yeah. And I know we talked about it previously here, like as far as resources go, right? Like it is time consuming for
Yeah.
everybody. It's time consuming for the gas station to have,
Right.
like,
And for you guys
to have to call us out and,
Yeah.
so, but
Part of the job.
it's part of the job. It is what it is.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, is just, Councillor Cox, it's got to be legislated through the province, pay at the tanks, pay at the tanks itself. It's got to be changed with through the legislative provincial government. It's just, it's a waste of resources. I mean, they're civil, they're not civil, they're criminal officers, civil collection, you know, the civil collection agency sort of. And the cost now associated with policing for our community or town and so on is so high now. It's just it's sort of a waste of time. It's sort of resources, you know. And so it's got to start from the provincial government down, so.
Yeah, I agree, like, you can
Yeah.
put your card in, say, up to $80, like my Matrix, which is a superior vehicle, and, you know, I mean, that thing, $30 and fills it up, and I can go, you know, for months, and, just kidding, Stevie. But anyway, but if you had, like, you're okay for up to $80, then the pump activates. That would pretty much
That's right.
put away all this, right?
Exactly. it
So
would.
is that the provincial government has to regulate?
Yeah, it's got to come down.
We gotta keep pushing for that then.
Just like radar, speed radar, you got to have, the provincial government's got to issue it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Right, Jody?
I agree with that, and I
Yeah.
think that in several industries, whether it's grocery or gas or what have you, the automation, the technology has actually impacted negatively. It's just shifted the
Yes.
burden. So it would have been the business owner initially, you know what I mean? That they were, that there was actually a human
Yeah,
involved in that interaction,
yeah,
and then it's gone to automation, but the human is now here.
yeah.
We do appreciate, though, that the police do intervene.
Absolutely.
In those circumstances, the departments or these stations could be left to their own devices, you know, by way of the civil process. That's very long and arduous and potentially costly process for them. So as long as the volumes aren't extraordinary, I'm assuming that you're able to still continue to provide that service, even though it doesn't technically fall within your
That's right.
bailiwick. But,
Councillor
you know,
Jackson?
Oh, sorry, Billy, didn't mean to interrupt you there, or?
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't.
I didn't know you were waiting.
After you, Councillor Daly. No, I was going to ask Corporal Painter, so I've just been following lately, you know, last 2 months, we had a big drug bust in Reeves Estate. There's been some large fentanyl busts around here. I don't want to put you on the spot, but how concerning is it that the city's not part of the joint enforcement team? And you know, I see there's 4 RCMP officers, there's folks from Kensington, folks from Summerside, but, you know, I think the other one was a coordinated effort between city police and RCMP, mostly city police, I think. Like, is there a chance that they will come on board? You know, I know that's probably up to them, but I think it's concerning they're not taking part in this.
Yeah, as far as that question goes, I'm not sure. I don't know where that stands or why they aren't. Certainly much higher than my pay grade, I guess, but ideally it would be great to have them. They do great work in there, and they're getting great results in there as well, right? So
Yeah.
combined effort for everybody, it would be ideal for, you know, Charlottetown, the province, Stratford, you know, everybody. I think it would be ideal, but
Yeah, and I didn't want to put you
honestly
on the
don't
spot.
know. No, that's fine. I'm just not sure what.
I'd like to just lend my weight to saying that whatever that's worth.
Yeah,
But
I would love to see
the
that.
idea that we, you know, we have good coordination with them on EPOC, and it'd be nice if
Yeah.
that kind of collaborative relationship could continue in this, because I know they have reasons, and maybe it's not getting the lower level folks, but I mean, we need to get these bigger folks too, and I guess if we have any say or anything, we'd love to see them join on that team if possible.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, I
Okay,
agree with
any other
that.
comments or questions?
Just one, Corporal, and if you can't comment, that's fine. Sorry, I didn't realize that wasn't on. With respect to the harassing communications allegations, there seems to be 5, or investigations, I should say. Can you comment on whether or not those are domestic related or intimate partner related?
Without knowing I know 2 of them right off the top of my head, and I can tell you they are domestic related. Yeah, I'm not sure about the other 3 though. I know 2 of them are our watch, so,
There you go.
yeah, I can answer that, but.
Yeah.
Typically, they are, like some sort of domestic related, either in a relationship or just recently broken up. And that is, the majority of the time, that is how it begins, is just can't let go.
Yeah, I'm just, you know, certainly I'm mindful of the time of year, and I'm mindful for, you know, we're all wearing purple ribbons here today. And
Yeah.
certainly that's something that is concerning to see within our community. And the hope is, of course, that, you know, early interventions by you guys is going to help diffuse those situations before they get worse. And certainly that's the hope, you know. So I appreciate that RCMP is responding to them, not just turning them away.
Yeah.
Certainly would encourage you all to take those seriously as you do. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I just got one comment, a positive comment. Community-based policing, reaching out there, a couple of things, that's great. That's great, getting out of the cars and putting a face to the officer and so on, and it's great to see that, and hope it continues on, Corporal. It's great to hear that, and I know when I was at the Easter Seals there and talking to Constable Dowling, and it was great to see him presence in uniform, the kids and so on, so it was nice to see. It signifies our community, Stratford, with the policing. It's attachment, right?
Yes,
And
yeah.
So I'm positive in that part.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, it's nice to get out and be involved. I agree. Goes a long way, right?
Yeah.
And the kids, they either feel comfortable around us or they don't. So
Yeah.
it kind of,
Yeah.
if they see us around the school and smiling, laughing,
Yeah.
it goes a long way.
It's the work you do too, when you get some bad calls and then you go to a school and it brings you around sort of, you're down as an officer too, right?
Yes,
I mean, the officers have feelings too.
Yeah.
You know, you're coming around and dealing with, and see kids, and happy to see your presence, is great, but I really appreciate what you're doing in that direction right now. Thank you very much.
Thanks. And it seems like, as I read off the names there, I mean, there's majority of our Stratford members that I rhymed off, right?
Yeah.
So it's not just one or two people. It seems like everybody's everybody's involved and going to see these people in
Yeah.
groups, and
Yeah.
Well, it's
Thank you.
good.
And I think, just further to Deputy Mayor's comments there, I think the social media briefing you did to the parents, Glenn Stewart, I think that's something that really, it hits the nail right on the head in terms of being relevant to a lot of the concerns of parents and
Yeah.
community concerns. So that's the sort of thing that we really appreciate, that extra work that is done to, you know, not only deal with crime as it exists, as it happens, but also to try to do things that maybe make people aware and maybe even can help prevent it, or at least help the police deal with some of it, because you know, you can't be everywhere at once, but if everybody's sort of the eyes and the ears and is, you know, aware of what dangers and things like social media and cybercrime and those sorts of things, and I think it can really benefit the community. So I just want you to know I appreciate that.
Yeah, no, I agree. Brad Cullica really spearheaded that. He's the lead presentation for sure. He's the presenter, and we just kind of go to help him out there. But it is every youth, especially, is on their phones or tablets, or right, they're on the internet. So it's good information to have, and I think it went successful from what I hear, and that's probably the second or third one that he's put on in different schools. So yeah, hopefully he can continue to get out and spread that word. I believe he did one in Dona at the end of last school year as well. So yeah.
The only other thing I wanted to raise, and it's a question, and again, I don't want to put you on the spot, but I know with the recent complaint of, you know, sexual touching in Glen Stewart School, that there was a complaint previously against that individual from Korea when he was working in Korea, but when they did the check on criminal record check, I guess they didn't. It wasn't picked up, and I guess that's kind of concerning. And I know it's not your responsibility, or you know, like it's not a failing of the system. It is a system, but it's something. The interconnectedness of those sorts of bits of information would be really valuable, and I hope that there's some you know, analysis and work being done to address that. You know, that sort of loophole or whatever that seems to exist.
Yeah, I honestly, it was before I transferred into Queens, so I don't know much about it. I don't even know who the lead investigator was on it, but I agree. I mean, something has to change, right? And I don't know what steps. I can't speak off the top of my head here anyways, like what steps are being taken or who is looking at that, but I do agree. Like, I think
We have regular quarterly meetings with the commanding officer,
Yes.
Kevin Lewis, and we will be, I'll be raising it with him as well, so you may give him a heads up, but that is something that's kind of concerning to me anyway.
Yeah, I think that's definitely one subject that will be looked at hard, and hopefully something will be done.
Okay, thank you, and thanks for everything you're doing to keep us all safe.
Yeah,
and-
thanks. I was just going to mention one more thing here as we're going. So I know we had talked before about the e-watch cameras as well, and
Yep.
so we did have on Mason Road earlier in the month of April, we had some cars rummaged through some unlocked vehicles. I know Wendy's been putting stuff out on the social media there as well to try to spread the word and make sure people see it. But there was some vehicles rummaged through, and we actually used the e-watch camera down by the like on Mason Road there. Actually, it was the one that kind of
Good.
gave us the suspects
Like that.
identification. So anyway, just a little positive.
Yeah,
I know
no,
we've
it's
talked,
good.
like you've mentioned it before, and
Yeah.
you know, you mentioned that you'd like to see more here. So
Yeah.
again, like a positive outcome of the e-watch. So
No,
yeah, I
thank you.
thought that was kind of neat.
I'd like to hear that.
'Cause and the we did get some like residential cameras, but that was the best one by far. So yeah, just a positive note on that.
That's great news, yeah.
It's great to hear, and actually on that point, I think Director Watts will be in contact with you, if she hasn't already, just to go over our map, so to speak, and seek your advice on where other cameras ought to be placed around
Perfect.
town, and which ones ought to have
Yeah.
license plates readers on them as well. So that's something that's being furthered by Councillor Gallant in particular, but Councillor Jackson has been on that file for a while, and I know we have a process in place now where we won't get ahead of ourselves, but we're hoping to engage the community to add to our camera system, and what part of that process is to engage you folks to seek your advice on where they ought to be placed.
Oh, that's great.
Any other questions for Corporal Payne?
I had one question, or more just of a, I don't even know. I love that the e-watch camera was beneficial, and we all are happy to have them, and we want more. But secondly, I remember that when, maybe it was Cindy Bowering, I'm not even sure, but at one point, there was comments made in regard to that kind of car theft or mischief, and that at that time, everyone's cars that were rifled through were not locked. Like, there was never, or maybe there was one instance that there was actually damage, like a smash, a break-in, you know what I mean? Is that still the situation? Because if it continues to be that, I wish that we could just continue to get that message out loud and clear, that like, this
Yeah.
is largely preventable
It's an issue,
crime.
For sure, yeah, and I think we've been back and forth over basically the whole month of April, I guess, and Scott from our office as well, our media relations. We've all been kind of pitching in here to try to get the word out, but yeah, it's largely on unlocked vehicles, and there's still a lot of people leaving keys in their vehicles. Like, it's, yeah.
Yes.
It's definitely preventable, but it's,
We can do our
it's
part.
continuing.
Okay, that's great. Thank you.
Yeah.
That we can, yes, I know there's a large audience that watches these meetings, so I'm sure that they'll be impactful. But yeah, it's important, and I didn't realize that was so, like, that's the majority of it. It's
Yes, yeah.
unlocked cars.
Yeah.
Thank you very much,
All right, thank you.
Corporal Painter.
Corporal.
Next item have as available reports, your worship, is the Crossroads Fire Company calls for April. It's in the package, and just as a quick overview for the month of April, there were 21 calls, 20 of which were for Stratford and 1 for Crossroads. Year to date, we have 96 calls, 72 of which were for Stratford, 3 for Hazelbrook, 14 for Crossroads, 2 for Johnson's River, 4 for Vernon River, and 1 mutual aid to Charlottetown. So open for any questions in relation to the report as it has been provided. Okay, hearing no questions, your worship, that will complete my report for this month.
Oh, thank you. I didn't, did you mention Citizens on Patrol? Are they still active?
Yeah, they are still active. They're out pretty much every weekend. They have different shifts that go out on Fridays and Saturdays. I'm not sure about Thursdays. I think Fridays and Saturdays for sure. So they still go out and patrol in and around Stratford. And they have a small but dedicated volunteer base, and if anyone is interested, they can contact Town Hall. We can put them in touch with the people at Citizens on Patrol. If people want to participate in that, it's a couple of hours each weekend kind of thing, or every other weekend, whatever an individual's schedule will permit, they'll fit you in.
Yeah, it's a good way to be involved in the town and meet other people and, you know, people, and help keep the community safe, because being the eyes and the ears for,
Yeah.
you know, the police force is,
Oh, yeah.
it makes a big difference sometimes. So that's one extra layer of protection that, I guess I just want to thank them for everything they do, and also encourage anybody that is, has some free time that would like to help the town, that they're always looking for volunteers. I think they probably have about, what, 10 now or something like that?
I'm not sure. Nicole Phillips is the one who, person who manages that. I'm not sure of the total. I get their email notifications, but I'm not sure how many they have on the roster. She puts a call out to say we have these shifts available, and people will respond and say I can do Friday between these hours. And
At one point, they had about 17, but I think that's down quite a bit from that.
I'm not sure the total numbers now. So I know,
Anyway.
I do know they would welcome more members.
Well, that's good. Maybe we can try to get that message out and let them know that we support them. We really encourage anybody that has some free time to really help, you know, get involved with that organization. Okay, well, thank you for your report, Councillor Dowling. We'll now move to recreation, culture, and events. And I'll ask Councillor Gordy Cox to give his report.
Thank you, Mayor. The Recreation, Culture and Events Committee met on April 24th, discussed a range of upcoming initiatives and seasonal planning. Key agenda items included updates on the community campus, review and coordination of spring and summer maintenance and program schedules, and also planning for major events such as Canada Day, Pride Day, and Remembrance Day. The committee also discussed the sport court usage and maintenance and plans to new mural art installations, and received updates on ongoing recreation, culture, and youth programming. The Stratford Youth Center and Council, the Youth Center has been very busy and successful this spring season. The Youth Center Drama Club held its spring production from May 2nd to the 4th at the Stratford Emergency Services Building, with 3 showings featuring 2 groups performing at each. The event was well attended and showcased strong community support for the drama program. Looking ahead, the Youth Center will host its annual Stratford Community Flea Market and yard sale on Saturday, June 7th from 8 to 12 noon. The residents are invited to register their properties for yard sale or book flea market tables at the town center. The Youth Center annual online auction will run from June 1st to June 8th, offering another opportunity for community engagement and fundraising. Additional youth members and their families will participate in the annual roadside cleanup, alongside Bunbury Road on Saturday, May 10th, continuing their commitment to community and environmental stewardship. Spring maintenance and planning. A favorable spring weather has allowed for an earlier than usual opening of several outdoor amenities. Upper McNeil, Kenlock, and Bunbury ball fields officially opened on May 2nd. Tennis and pickleball courts were open to the public on April 17th, while soccer fields are scheduled to open on May 9th, so that would have happened. Trail improvements continue with culvert repairs complete and tree trimming ongoing. Notably, the cricket field has undergone scoreboard repairs to ensure readiness for the season. In the coming weeks, all sports fields are scheduled for rolling and fertilization to maintain optimal playing conditions. Community and neighborhood parks have been ongoing seasonal cleanup efforts also, with new picnic tables ordered and set to be distributed shortly. So I gotta admit one thing before I go too far, but my wife has told me I'm not allowed to go to the flea market, since we're selling our house, and we are downsizing, so, she said, I know you're supposed to attend that, but you are not allowed within 100 feet of the building, so, my apologies to, Dwayne and the crew. It's not because I don't support them, but I fear my wife sometimes. Okay, so, in a good way. Okay, so, back to what I'm reading here. Facility use for a federal election. The town center, the Stratford Emergency Center, and the Robert Cotton Park were all utilized for official voting locations for both advance polls and election day voting during the recent federal election. I think it was 76% for PEI. I read about that. It was one of the highest we've ever had. And that's really, really great to see that. Staff worked closely with election officials to coordinate logistics and ensure the buildings were ready and fully accessible for voters. The town center in particular experienced a brief closure of 4 days to accommodate election setup and operations. The community responded with a strong voter turnout, and feedback from election organizers indicate that the use of these multiple spaces contributes significantly to the successful administration of the vote. Here's some program updates. May and June pickleball, a spring pickleball program is being offered, and I hope it goes over. Pretty good chance, I think some people will show up for that. With registration currently open and strong interest from participants. Summer camps, registration is open for summer day camps and include a diverse mix of outdoor play, arts, sports, and themed activities. Many camps are filling up quickly. Intro to sport and U4 soccer. Registration open for this on May 1st. These beginner level programs are geared towards younger children and focus on building fundamental skills in a fun and supportive setting, and the key word there is fun. Tennis programs, a range of tennis programs will be offered this season to accommodate different age groups and skill levels. Suncatcher workshop, hands-on art-based workshop was successfully held in May, offering participants the opportunity to create decorative sun catchers. The session received positive feedback and contributed to ongoing community engagement in arts programming. Fall programming. Planning is currently underway for the fall season. Staff is reviewing feedback from previous seasons and identifying opportunities to introduce new and inclusive offerings tailored to various age groups. And that should, we should have some more about the fall programming coming up. Art projects. The town of Stratford is moving forward with a series of vibrant mural art projects throughout the summer. Pondside Park mural, which I'm really personally looking forward to, created by Lacey and Layla. Art is scheduled for July 21st to July 27th, followed by another installation by several artists at the Waterfront Park from July 28th to August 4th. The Cotton Park mural, led by artist John McPartland, also known as Aspen, will take place from August 5th to the 19th. In participation, plywood will be installed on 2 walls of the barn during May and June to accommodate future mural installations. All mural projects will be submitted to council for approval prior to the commencement. Poppy Project Tally. This is really impressive. The Poppy Project continues to grow in scale and impact thanks to overwhelming community support. Originally aiming to collect 4,000 handmade poppies, the project has now set a new target of 8,000. As of May 7th, 2025, the poppy tally stands at 5,775. In recognition of its community engagement, the town of Stratford has been awarded a $5,000 commemorative partnership program grant by Veterans Awards Canada to support the initiative. So congratulations there, and Melanie especially, Melanie Weatherby, and the staff also, different staff obviously worked on this too. The Stratford Skate Park will host a community skateboarding event on Saturday the 24th. The event is being organized by Town City Shop, Wise Skateboarding, and the Skateboard PEI. It will include demonstrations, beginner instructions, and a celebration of local skate culture. This event is a great opportunity to bring youth and families together while promoting active lifestyles and community pride. So that's, once again, the Stratford Skate Park will host a community event on Saturday 24th. I know Councillor Stevie Glantz looking forward to learning how to skateboard and take that up as a new hobby. I think you'll be excellent at it. And that's the report for today.
I think you're supposed to do that as well. You're supposed to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'll do 3 knee operations on the other leg, so that'd be good.
Give me a
good
helmet,
thing.
I'll try, give me a helmet.
Just one comment, I went to the Drama Club production a week
Oh,
ago,
yeah.
Saturday night. That was fantastic. It
Yeah.
was really, really well done and really entertaining. It was, you know, great. It was by donation and just whatever,
Well,
it was
well,
great.
you know, the thing is too, like Charlottetown Rural every second year does a play that at the Fed Center, right? So Colonel Gray and Charlottetown Rural every second year,
Yeah.
they offset. So some of these kids, you know, will be going to Charlottetown Rural.
Sure,
And they'll
yeah.
get a taste of it, you know, here.
That's right, yeah.
And it might be the, you know, thing to start them, you know, going, you know, trying out for that play and maybe participating in the Rural's production. So it's kind of a nice feeder there too for that.
We've got some potential stars there, you know, like in that,
We
that
got some-
production. They
we
were
got some
really good.
future boomer
Talk about
glance.
passion, lots of passion.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
They really enjoyed it too. You could tell they were enjoying it. So it's a good thing, you know, really nice thing for the drama club to take on, youth council and youth center. Yeah.
I just wanted to mention one thing. I ran into Heidi and crew today, and Heidi reminded me they planted tulips in the shape of 2025 at Cotton Park, and I guess it's really beautiful. And it's a short-lived visual, so if you have the chance to get to Cotton Park to see their
Yeah.
work, then check it out.
Yeah.
That's all.
Thanks for that. Thank you.
Because I'd like to compliment you, Councillor, on like the arts, the murals and so on increasing. This year, we're going to see a lot of stuff there, and it's how you're putting the efforts into it. I know our budget's $30,000 a year, and we maybe look at next year, like lifting that budget a little higher, you know. And arts are very important to a community. I see it in
Yeah.
Charlottetown, I see it in Montague, and I think after these murals were put up, you'll see it yourself, and residents will see it yourself. I think it's going to go a long way, and you know, it's with the work behind, like down at Cotton Park and Pondside, so it's a great idea, and putting them murals up. It's going to create a lot of conversations, and it's a great impact to our town.
I had a conversation with Kent McDonald. He one of the things he wanted to know was he got a hold of me, or we talked. It was he wanted to know about the what is our plan for arts and culture space and a library, et cetera, and community campus, and he wanted to talk about that. He said that was pretty much number one or number two thing he got asked the doors was about arts and cultures and libraries. He said he got an awful lot of questions about that. So, so that was nice to see that people, you know, are thinking about the arts and culture too, and as we are, and hopefully, you know, we build something that will have a legacy and continue onward. So.
Yeah, no, good point.
Especially with the waterfront, it's just going to be, you know, it's the sculpture down there now with, you know, but it's great to see that stuff being done.
Okay, any other comments or questions for Councillor Cox on his report? If not, thank you very much for your report, Councillor. And we'll now move on to Finance and Technology. As the chair of that committee, Councillor Jody Jackson to give his report.
Thank you, Worship. I'm going to hit some of the highlights here for the last month. So April utility bills are now, they were due on May 12th. Annual computer replacements for staff have been completed, and it's nice to see that it's been done early to kind of make sure we don't get caught up in any tariff increases. So kudos to staff for being on the ball on that one. The director interviewed candidates for the planning admin position, and the successful candidates started on May 1st. Canada Community Building Audit was completed. The financial coordinator position is advertised and closed yesterday, so looking forward to that. The staff, there were staff sessions on permit-ready housing plans and a lunch and learn on budgeting that was presented by RBC. There's a lot of work going on in year-end files for the audit, and the auditors will be on site the week of June 23rd, and also working on the staff work plan for 25-26. On the utility side, collections, the first and second letters are going out on May 15th, so that's tomorrow, with a due date of May 28th. Disconnects will be done in early June. Again, staff are working within the department to train on new positions to help kind of cover when folks are out of the office. So it's been a great cross-training opportunity there, and glad to see that's continued. Work is underway on the Investing in Canada Infrastructure Program claims for funding. And the staff are busy with day-to-day items. And just to Councillor Cox's comment, with the new member for Cardigan, we'd be happy to tell him how he can create a library and some art space. And it'd be nice if someone could take them on a kind of personal tour maybe of the campus site, just to sell the vision. So I know it was big at the doors, and I think he's going to do a great job. It'd just be nice to get some, it's nice to hear the support for the arts and library in addition to everything else, because I know we've been kind of talking about the big impact on sports, and but it is important that, and it's great to hear that people in the community were kind of all over all of the things we plan to offer there. So unless there's some questions, that is my report for the month.
So we're doing okay on the bottom line? Everything looks good?
Yeah, I think, and I defer to Kim on this, but I think, you know, given the fluctuations and the ups and downs and all the tossing and turning with Trump, I think we're doing okay so far, and we're kind of isolated, I guess, from that. But Kim, if there's anything, great to see the computer replacement and things like that, where we can take advantage of pricing, past pricing or current pricing to get away from that. And I think we were looking at that in infrastructure too with the water meters.
Yeah, like right now, we're not seeing any impact on tariffs or anything like that, and we're just kind of into month one of the new year. We're currently focusing on getting our year-end file done for last year, but right now, everything's looking okay, looking good.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions for Councillor Jackson?
Thank
Okay,
you.
Thank you for your report, Councillor. Okay, we'll now move on to Planning, Development, Heritage. Chair of that committee is Councillor Jeff McDonald. I'll ask him to give his report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So we have a few items for resolutions before us this evening. Nothing too much in the way of new items, as a lot of these are for second reading and adoption. Though by no means not less important, I'll begin with our year-to-date development value summary, just to kind of have somewhat of a pulse check to see where we're going in terms of development. I guess on the 40,000-foot view, it is of assistance to let us know where we're at vis-a-vis year over year, and certainly we're right where we almost were last year, which is a good sign. A couple of highlights there. Commercial is certainly a very strong element of our planning and development permitting fees, which indicates that we're still doing a great job attracting new businesses and new commercial ventures to the town, which I think is vital to the long-term interests of our town. So that's a good sign. Certainly as well, a large amount of single-family development happening in 2025, with not a lot of new large subdivisions, which indicates some infilling, which is always a good sign for planning, I would suggest. And it's a good sign that we're able to add to our tax base in a responsible way, where we're not having to make fairly significant outlays in terms of utilities or roads or whatnot. So all positive things heading into what does appear to be, and what certainly sounds to be, a very busy summer planning session. I'm told by our planning staff that our planning committee meeting for June is already looking fairly full and stacked. So certainly, some of you may want to bring an extra can of Dr. Pepper into the meeting in June to fortify yourselves accordingly to get through that. But we'll see. Certainly exciting to hear.
I see Councillor McDonald, exciting to see McCarran Way over my way, that developer subdivision there.
It's certainly a going concern. I'd say right now,
It's nice to see.
in terms of planning committee,
yeah.
You'll note our discussions even last month there. Lots is happening in Ward 3. Lots is happening in and around there. It's an area ripe for development. And like every other area, once the conditions are right, we're seeing that really come to fruition, and I think it'll be great for that area of the town. I think it'll be really great, and a really good justification, I would add, for additional transit services in that area as well. When I think that's brought up about the amount of development happening in that area. So I agree. It's wonderful to see, and
Shovels in the ground.
shovels in the ground. Shovels
Yeah.
in the ground. You know, and that's something that people see, and they see like that's the clear sign of progress I'm going to suggest for a municipality. You know, is shovels in the ground, like you said, and growth in a responsible fashion, and that's something I think we all hear at the doors is always everyone's for growth as long as it's managed appropriately and done in a responsible way. And I think that's the message that, you know, we as a council are always going to bring forward, and certainly something that I think planning staff is always has top of mind. So without further ado, I'll discuss our first resolution, which is a resolution PH 015-2025A001. This is a self-initiated process by the town of Stratford requesting some housekeeping amendments to a zoning and development bylaw, amendment number 45S, requesting additions, or I should say amendments to our non-combustible fire separations. This is for second reading, moved by myself as chair of Planning, Development, and Heritage. And it reads as follows. Whereas planning staff is proposing a housekeeping text amendment to the zoning and development bylaw number 45 to reduce province-wide confusion in the industry caused by referring to the vertical fire separation required for semi-detached and townhouse dwellings as a, quote, firewall. And whereas the proposed text amendments will not change building permit requirements or the ability to subdivide attached dwellings from what has been required since the town first adopted the National Building Code of Canada in 2011, whereas in accordance with section 3.2.3 of the zoning development bylaw number 45, notice of the amendments and public meeting occurred through the placement of an advertisement in the local Guardian newspaper on 2 separate editions, being February the 22nd, 2025 and March 3rd, 2025. Notice of the public meeting was posted on the town's Facebook and YouTube page, whereas the public meeting was held on March 5th, 2025 at 6 p.m. at the town center and was live streamed on the town's Facebook page and YouTube. No questions or comments were received at the meeting. No written comments were received by the deadline of March 7th, 2025. Be it resolved that bylaw number 45S, a bylaw to amend the town of Stratford zoning and development bylaw, be hereby read and approved a second time. I would note that this resolution bears a recommendation of the Planning and Heritage Committee as discussed at a meeting held on March 31st, 2025.
Have a seconder? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor.
Okay, any discussion?
I'll just simply add, this is for second reading and hopefully adoption at this point in time. So this is just to ensure that us within our municipality here are speaking the same language as other municipalities within the province, as well as our provincial officials, just to kind of bring in a more neutral language rather than the wall being a non-combustible separation.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? If not, I'll call for the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone against? Motion carried.
Thank you, everyone. So the associated resolution, PH 016-2025A001-25, Town of Stratford initiated zoning and development bylaw number 45S, non-combustible fire separations adoption. This resolution is moved by myself as chair of Planning and Heritage. Reads, whereas bylaw number 45S, a bylaw to amend the Town of Stratford zoning and development bylaw, was read and approved the first time on April the 9th, 2025. Whereas bylaw number 45S, a bylaw to amend the Town of Stratford zoning and development bylaw, was read and approved a second time on May 14th, 2025. Be it resolved that bylaw number 45S, a bylaw to amend the Town of Stratford zoning and development bylaw, be hereby adopted, and that the mayor and chief administrative officer be authorized to affix their signatures in the corporate seal of the town thereto, and to be formally declared the said bylaw passed. And this resolution bears the recommendation of Planning and Heritage Committee as discussed at a meeting held on March 31st, 2025.
Seconder? Thank you, Councillor. Oh, Jody's there? Okay, good. All right, any discussion? Anything further? Okay,
Nothing.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone against? Motion carried. So that is now a new bylaw
Bylaw.
within our...
Done.
Thank you, everybody. Just always good to make sure that we're in compliance and speaking the same language as everybody else. Okay, next one. This is number, just to make sure everyone's on the same page here, this is number 12E. This is resolution PH 0017-2025, mobile vendors bylaw number 55. This is for second reading. It is moved by myself as chair of Planning and Heritage. Whereas the Town of Stratford Planning Department is proposing a new mobile vendors bylaw, which would permit the sale of prepared refreshments by the way of a mobile vending unit. And whereas the mobile vendors bylaw was previously drafted and advertised as the street vendors bylaw, was changed to this new name out of comments from the province and due to locations of vendors to be located in parks and private parcels and not within solely streets. And whereas in accordance with the Stratford zoning and development bylaw number 45, Notice of this amendment application, a public meeting occurred through the placement of an advertisement in the local Guardian newspaper on 2 separate editions, being February 22nd and March 1st. Notice of the public meeting was also posted on the town's Facebook page. Whereas a public meeting was held on March 5th, 2025 at 6 p.m., MRSB Consulting, who drafted the new bylaw, presented to those in attendance. 2 attendees stood up and asked questions of the presenters. Comments were recorded in the minutes. And whereas this public meeting was live streamed on the town's Facebook pages and YouTube, and residents were given until 12 noon on March 7th, 2025 to submit their comments. And whereas planning staff received no written comments from residents or business owners. And whereas mobile vendor bylaw number 55 had been read and approved the first time on April the 9th, be it resolved that the mobile vendor bylaw be hereby read and approved a second time. This resolution bears a recommendation of Planning, Development, and Heritage on March 31st, 2025.
Okay, seconder? Thank you. Any discussion?
I have one quick thing. Is there any talk about eventually having like an area where vendors can be in, like down by the boardwalk, like a little park with picnic tables and a little area where certain vendors could be?
There's 4 or 5 locations.
I do believe that is one of the anticipated locations. Let me see if I can get
I think what I'm getting at, I guess, is the 2 of the people that stood up, one of the persons that talked was worried that there'd be, you know, Cotton Park would have a couple here and a couple over by Home Harbor and a couple here, and it'd just be sprinkled all throughout and a bit chaotic when you're looking for a certain vendor for some kind of thing. But
So I'm wondering if we could pull up, it's PHR 17-2025, the map, it says vendor sites, but vendor sites, yes, that one right there.
There you go.
Yeah. So what you see here, Counselor,
I guess my question is just kind of add on what was brought up by the person, one of the 2 people that asked a question about that.
so within, I guess, that waterfront zone, you're looking for some more clarity as to where exactly they will be within that waterfront zone?
I'm just wondering, like, rather than having also a mini vendor park in Robin Cotton Park and then a mini one over by the, I'm just wondering, what is the vision in the future as we move forward with this, in that respect? I
Well,
guess Scott's going to answer that for us.
I mean, maybe we'll hear from Mr. Carnell and then.
So we identified the parks as locations for having the food trucks. We felt that is easy for us to control at this time being. So that we don't have a limit on how many units how many vendors can apply within the park, but will be within reason to make sure there's not overcrowding of any units there. So we do have one applicant that is waiting for obviously the adoption that wants to move into the Pondside Park.
Right.
But at the moment, it's still a very early stage, so it's just see how this year goes and then see what kind of uptake on those units. But we felt controlling them within our town property for now is the best way to go ahead.
I guess one of the reasons I'm asking this too is rather than having each vendor with a generator or, you know, emissions coming from their electrical source, I mean, if you're in one area, we could actually control some, if we had control some of the electricity and stuff that's going to these units, and rather than having, you know, having generators and stuff, you know, and they're noisy and pollution from them, et cetera, that we could actually have a, you know, regulated area with electricity that we could control.
For sure. I think for the first year, we just want to see how the uptake is, because that's an infrastructure that we don't necessarily want to go ahead with right now, and so we know what those numbers are. There is areas that we can apply for funding to support some of that we'll look at through the year, but we'll kind of see how the first year goes and how many vendors and what locations people are preferring to move to and go from there, we'll see how it goes.
Okay.
Okay, I think that's a good point to raise, maybe if you come to planning and when we're looking at how that bylaw, if this bylaw passes, how it's performing, and if there are issues around things like noise and you know, those issues that you raised, if that is in fact creating an issue, and then maybe we could look at centralizing them in a area. I know other municipalities look at that approach as well, but there's advantages to having them spread out, and there's advantages to having them centralized. So hopefully we can get the best of both worlds and put the capacity where the demand is.
And so if I may, some of these discussions, like not specifically to that point, Councillor Cox, but some of the discussions we had already had, and planning staff prepared a fairly helpful document showing some of their responses and how the bylaws responses to some of the council's concerns. And so, for instance, Section 22.4 of the bylaw would say the town reserves the right and has full discretion over the number of permits to issue. And on 12.3 would be the town shall refuse any permit based upon considerations of safety, desirability, impact on established businesses in the town, public convenience, and other such considerations as deemed appropriate. So there's a bunch of, I appreciate your concern on how this is going to look specifically within each of these zones, but also appreciate what you're saying about perhaps providing some infrastructure. The bylaw can only respond to, I think, the first part of it in terms of the infrastructure, or what that's going to look specifically, and ultimately we're going to have, and our staff are going to have the final say as to how many are going to be situated and where they can go specifically in each of these zones. And I think, as Mr. Mayor pointed out, this is going to be somewhat of a fluid situation in this, at least first year, where we had the waterfront park open and this is a new bylaw.
Yeah.
And like every public policy, it's likely going to change and adjust to make sure that we get it right over time. But I think there's a lot of flexibility in the document right now that you're right on, and I think it's a good concern. I do think it'll be top of mind. We want to make sure that we're respecting that environment and that it's not just basically a 24/7 carnival down there or anything like that. So I mean, I think like anything, we'll know it when we see it, and we'll know when there's that balance down there. And if people think that that's unfair, that we might refuse some more mobile vendors, well, unfortunately, we have to control our public spaces. And we have to do what's right to make sure that those are properly managed. And I do think that there's some language in here right now that'll help us do that. Okay. Yeah. Councillor?
Thank you, Councillor McDonald. Very good points. It's not open season where people can go overtake our parks with industry. But that is something that is concern to the public and something that we'll be watching. One thing I will note is that Michael Thomas Park, the later planning phases will envision, we'll see how it unfolds, but it will envision a larger area where we'd have washrooms and perhaps some vendor stations, and that might provide a template for grouping vendors together, and that could be transposed to other parks down the road to provide facilities for people as well as operational space for vendors and connectivity to electricity, that sort of thing. But that's later planning stages for the park, but we'll see what the uptake is in this inaugural year of the bylaw, and then go from there.
Thank you. Okay, any other comments or questions on this?
Scott, just a question on prices there. Different prices there, occasional and seasonal and so on. Is that looked at from other cities and towns?
It's comparable to.
Not comparable?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Mary, I asked for a seconder, did I? I already asked for a seconder? Okay, so we've got a moved and seconded motion.
Just before we move on, I did want to bring up something that Councillor Chandler brought up at the first reading, and because I think it was important that it be brought up. And just to put somewhat of a stake in the ground for us as a council. Councillor Chandler had discussed perhaps a site of Kinloch Beach be added to the list of permitted areas. And in a very thoughtful response, town staff indicated that it's currently zoned as R1 low density. And our mobile vendors bylaw prohibits mobile vending units in that area. But also, it's not technically a park site, as it is zoned currently as R1, R1L, I should say. And I think that is an area of the town, Kinloch Beach, that's likely something that we as a council should probably take a look at. I think I'm not saying it's underperforming, but I think there's some parking issues there, there's some zoning issues there. Longer term, it may be something we add to our workflow to kind of revamp that a little bit, get it maybe into a different zone so it's a little more protected. Maybe allow for a very small scale mobile vending unit to be included there. Look at revamping the parking a little bit, just to get that a little more accessible for people. So I do appreciate you bringing that up, Councillor Chandler, and I do think it's something that we could look at and maybe put a little work to and make it a little better for our town.
If I could, I appreciate your updating us on that, and I wasn't aware of that particular zoning. I do think that there is more opportunities to explore in that asset. If I was to just speak anecdotally, like it is very well used. Like if you go there at any point, and once you're in that area, it is very accessible, you know, for families and young children. And typically, if there was more parking, the beach and getting to the beach is much closer than T Hill, and it's not serving multiple audiences or stakeholders. So I think I would agree that there is more to explore at Kinloch, and it's a gorgeous asset. And I was just thinking from the food vending perspective, like there are so many people that utilize it, that it would be a natural place to offer, you know, cold drinks or whatever it might be, that people are there with kids and that sort of thing.
Okay, any other comments or questions? Yeah, go ahead.
I guess just a question for Scott too, like, will these vendors be monitored? Or maybe it's a fire question. I know, like, 2019, there was a food truck had an explosion at New Glasgow. That can happen, especially with propane around, and I know they'll be watching everything, but with that in mind, like in the parks, in a dry season, can we be extra diligent just on making sure that we're not adding some risk to burning down the few trees that we have left? Like, I know it's contained, but like, it's just the consideration around that stuff, because it can happen. I mean, this one happened in New Glasgow, but it could happen anywhere, so maybe just not close to other combustible, we're getting too far into the weeds, but it could happen. It has happened before. Just want to make sure we don't burn down or any of our precious trees or our parkland or anything like that.
For sure, I mean, yeah, we'll do a diligent review when these food trucks come in, and there'll be, an application does require a site plan and us for review that, and to make sure that there's no obstructions or any concerns for fire hazards. And obviously, they still have to be mandated for the provincial and for food and safety and all that kind of stuff.
I think that's a good point Councillor Jackson raises, and maybe I don't know if the fire company has any role to play here or not, but there may be something that could be done in that regard. You know, fire safety is a concern, and it is something maybe that could be checked anyway, because hopefully they learned from the 2019 experience, and there's regulations in place now. But if not, then maybe it could just something to be checked.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. Any other comments or questions? If not, I'll call for the question. All those in favor? Aye. Anyone against? Motion carried.
Thank you, everybody. Appreciate the discussion as always. So the next resolution is the sister resolution, PH 0018-2025, mobile vendor bylaw adoption. Moved by myself as Chair of Planning, Development and Heritage. Reads as follows. Whereas the Town of Stratford Planning Department is proposing a new mobile vendors bylaw, which would permit the sale of prepared refreshments by the way of a mobile vending unit. And whereas mobile vendors bylaw number 55 was read and approved for a first time on April the 9th, 2025. And whereas mobile vendors bylaw number 55 was read and approved for a second time on May 14th, 2025, be it resolved that the mobile vendors bylaw number 55 be hereby adopted, and that the mayor and chief administrative officer be authorized to affix their signatures in the corporate seal of the town thereto, and to be formally declared the said bylaw passed. This resolution bears the recommendation of the Planning, Development and Heritage Committee on March 31st, 2025.
Seconder? Thank you, Councillor Chandler. Thanks. Any discussion? Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone against? Motion carried.
Thank you, Mr. Carnell. Appreciate your assistance. Okay, last resolution for planning for this evening is 12G, and this is resolution PH 019-2025, DP 014-25. What's the Scoop Incorporated, care of Craig Murphy. Located at 20 Irving Avenue, being PID 398693, a special permit use being a temporary commercial use being a food trailer. Request for a decision on a resolution. Moved by myself as Chair of Planning Development Heritage. Reads as follows. Whereas an application has been received from Craig Murphy on behalf of What's the Scoop Incorporated to operate Ken's Island Fries Food Trailer, a temporary commercial use located at 20 Irving Avenue, PID 398693, which is a special permit use within the Mason Road commercial zone, where the Mason Road core area design standards are in effect. Whereas in accordance with Section 8.34, temporary commercial uses of the Zoning and Development Bylaw number 45, temporary development permits may be issued for a temporary commercial use, subject to compliance with the following. A, the development shall not result in any traffic hazard. B, the development shall not interfere with the parking requirements of permanent users of the lot on which the development will be located. C, the development shall not create a public nuisance. D, the temporary permit shall not exceed a 20-week period. E, the applicant shall provide a letter of approval from the property owner of the lot on which the temporary development will be situated. And F, where required, the applicant shall satisfy council that such development complies with all health regulations. Whereas pursuant to Section 13.5.1 sub B in the Zoning and Development Bylaw number 45, council shall ensure that property owners within 61 meters or 200 feet of the subject property are notified in writing and asked to provide their comments and ensure that a public meeting be held to allow residents to provide their input before making a decision. And whereas a public meeting was held on Wednesday, April 23rd at 7 p.m. in order to provide an opportunity for the applicant to present the proposed use to residents and obtain their input regarding the special permit use. Whereas in accordance with Section 8.34, temporary commercial uses of the Zoning Development Bylaw number 45, temporary development permits may be issued for a temporary commercial use subject to compliance with A, B, C, D, E, and F, which are the same for which I already indicated. Be it resolved that council grants approval to application DP 014-25 from Craig Murphy on behalf of What's the Scoop Incorporated for a special permit use, temporary commercial to operate Ken's Island Fries Food Trailer on parcel number 398693 located at 20 Irving Avenue within the Mason Road commercial zone, subject to the following conditions. 1, the development shall not result in any traffic hazard. 2, the development shall not interfere with the parking requirements of permanent users of the lot on which the development will be located. 3, the development shall not create a public nuisance. 4, this temporary permit shall not exceed a 20-week period. 5, this food truck shall be removed from the property once the temporary commercial permit has expired unless a license has been obtained under the town's street vendors bylaw that permits this food truck to be located on this property. 6, where required, the applicant shall satisfy council that such development complies with all health regulations. 7, that the on-site waste area and garbage receptacles be screened from adjacent streets in accordance with the Mason Road core area design standards. 8, that the food truck shall be removed from the property once the temporary commercial permit has expired, again, unless a license has been obtained under the town street vendor bylaw. 9, that the vegetation barrier along the side of the drive-through lane adjacent to the food truck trailer must be maintained for, at minimum, the length of the time of this permit. This resolution bears the recommendation of Planning Development Heritage, discussed at a meeting held on May 5th, 2025.
Seconder? Oh, thank you. Just a question. What's the difference between condition number 5 and condition number 8?
None.
There's no difference?
No,
So it's just a typo?
It's just.
Shouldn't be repeated,
Yeah, it's
okay.
just excess.
So there should only be 8 conditions then?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, any other discussion?
I'll just indicate, in terms of this, they were an excellent tenant last year. No issues. I think it was a good addition to that area. It offered people some options and choice. They were very good to put in the hedgerow last year. They've maintained it to a high standard. It continues to grow. I think it's an overall improvement to the safety of the drive-through area. Again, they've asked for the temporary use because they were just outside of our timing on our mobile vendor bylaw, which you passed here tonight. So they're certainly dotting their i's and crossing their t's, and they're a good corporate resident and a good addition to that area of the town.
I know this is temporary, Councillor.
Yeah.
Every year, they're going to have to apply for this?
No, so
Yeah.
going forward, it'll be under the regime of the mobile vendor bylaw.
Okay.
I can say, it's neither here nor there necessarily, but Mr. Murphy has indicated that he has plans to, if possible, incorporate Ken's Island Fries into their main unit of What's the Scoop. So
Okay.
it would no longer be a mobile vendor unit. That remains to be seen. I guess that'll come down to operational requirements.
Yeah, the only comment I have is, and I don't know why this is, but I've had comments from a couple of residents about an awful, and it's not, I'm not drawing a connection with the food, food truck or anything like that, but there seems to be an awful lot of garbage on Irving Avenue. I don't know why, whether it's people walking and just discarding wrappers and stuff from the, discounters and other places up there, but anyway, there just seems to be an awful lot of garbage. I don't know whether it might be advisable to maybe put a couple more garbage containers up there or whatever, but I'm just not sure why that is, but it is a bit of a problem up there, and I mean, there's garbage containers by the food truck, so there's no reason for anybody to leave there with any.
I mean,
But that's everywhere.
yeah, this is a positive thing insofar as I would suggest, when you look at the overall development profile of Irving Avenue currently, it's getting rather busy there. There is now a substantially completed mixed-use development there with some commercial spacing on the main floor with some residential spacing above it. I think it's probably in the town's best interest, Mr. Mayor, as you indicated, to probably maybe even put some public seating and some garbage receptacles along that stretch of the road to kind of meet the
Yeah.
demands of the citizens there.
Whatever we can do, I guess, to address that, it would be good,
Yeah.
because it is getting to be a bit of a problem, and
Yeah, and there's the active transportation pathway along there, so maybe that's the spot for them, but that might be,
That's true.
so I think it's probably a good idea for infrastructure
Yeah.
to look at, yeah.
well, one thing about it, hopefully that everybody gets out and cleans up when is the cleanup? It's this coming Sunday, is it, or?
Who's
I
last?
think it already happened.
Oh, it's already happened?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was talking to Wendy, I guess unbelievable garbage out there.
They
People-
missed Irving Avenue then, because I talked to somebody that walked by there yesterday, and they said it was really bad. Anyway, okay.
Is it, your worship, is it like just regular consumer waste, or is it construction waste, or is it a mix, or?
I think it's just wrappers and,
Okay.
the kind of things that people maybe walking might, in the absence of a receptacle, they might just discard. I don't know exactly. Personally, I haven't been up there, but I know that 2 residents did mention it to me.
Interesting.
Can I just make a comment? I am fully in support of this and of this business. I'm no stranger to what's a scoop. Anyway, I have commented before because I have this concern, and I know it's
Oh, I know.
private land, but it is the amount of people that are now moving in different ways, whether like it's to get ice cream or as a cut through or what have you. I know there is an active transportation land planned in that area.
Yes.
But from a safety perspective and the nature of the clientele and kids walking, et cetera, I still have serious concerns about the way traffic moves at the intersection of Irving, like when they're coming out of what I just reference as the Home Hardware parking lot, and who has the right of way, like in that area. So I fear, like I've already witnessed motor vehicle accidents in the parking lot, but I fear, I just feel like we should take this seriously.
I agree, but I mean, and then just for your information, it was brought up by a couple of members of planning staff when we discussed this at planning committee. So I think your comments are shared by certainly at least some of the staff, some of the residents. So I guess my question, and I don't want to answer your question with the questions, but how do we address it? I mean, do we put it on for safety services or infrastructure to have a discussion about,
Well, I think to this point, and I don't have the solutions and I don't know necessarily the processes, but it has been raised several times. So I guess we could question what are the next steps, but I would love for someone to actually, would it be beneficial to reach out to the business owner to say this is a concern? Because residents have comment on it too. It's not just us. And I think it's on us, as a preventative, I would rather have it addressed and know that we were working on something than find out that a child on a bike was struck as the car was coming through that parking lot diagonally.
Yeah, I think one of the levels of complexity here is that it is private property after you get through Irving Avenue to the parking lot of that whole area there. That becomes private property. So I think we need to reach out, maybe a discussion with the province and see if they can have any jurisdiction to delineate a through route
Something.
there, you know, because other parking lot, big parking lots, I'm thinking of Superstore in town and other places like that where there's a lot of, you know, it's a huge area and there's a lot of different ways to come and go and that sort of thing. But it seems to work pretty well and they have curbs and they have lane markings and all that sort of thing, whereas in the Home Hardware, you know, the Domino's and that whole area, there's no real
It just
lane
seems
markings.
interpretive. Like, I know there's parking spaces here, but then there's certain areas that just,
Yeah.
that drivers interpret it. And it's not I support, I'm a shopper in those areas as well. So it's not a criticism, it's just something that
Yeah.
more people are moving there in those.
I think it's good to raise, sorry.
Nope.
It's good to raise this issue, but I think it's something, you know, this resolution is basically focused on, you know, the food truck and the requirements and the conditions that have been established. This is a bigger discussion, I think, that needs
Yeah.
to be, it shouldn't be forgotten, it should be brought forward. I think Safety Services might be a good spot to start the discussion, maybe engage the province through infrastructure and see if there's any possibility of working with the, you know, the property owner to resolve the situation, because it's in everybody's interest, because there is a liability issue, I would imagine, for the property owner if it's not
Yeah.
properly controlled. So anyway, all that to say, I think it's a bigger discussion for, we're not going to solve it here tonight, but
No.
it is something that's good to raise.
Yes, and I realize it's not necessarily seen in correlation to this particular resolution, which I've already voiced that I support. I just think that there is a connection. You know, just like,
Yeah, fair enough.
anyway,
Absolutely. Sorry.
thank you.
Councilor Hewitt?
Couldn't we throw some speed humps, temporary speed humps down there, just on the actual road on Irving, to slow construction traffic down, to slow down, to keep folks from actually using that to get out to the old store mark? They can leave through discounters and the wheel alignment place and just stay, you know, only people going to Irving for the apartments or for the, what's the scoop, or the fries.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, but there, if you look at this, I was down the other day, they're getting ice cream. And you look at, there's two stop signs there, north and south, but there's nothing coming. You can come from Domino's, drive right through towards the highway, right? There's no stop sign here, so we might be missing a stop sign, but that's not me. That's public safety, that's highway safety, provincial highway safety to make those decisions. But I see where you're coming from. And it's going to be larger with the apartment building, 220 units, right? It's going to be larger traffic.
I think our CAO has a comment.
Yeah, I don't think it's an actual speeding issue. I was through there today, and actually there was a vehicle getting a tire repaired, a large truck right on the side, and it's difficult to know where you go once you come off Irving Avenue. I think it's more or less, there needs to be some, you know,
Controls.
landscaping islands and some curbing in there to direct you like they have in all the other, and we do require that now when new developments go in, and unfortunately it didn't win there, so I think it's a combination of working with Department of Transportation and the landowner to kind of mark that out, and Department of Transportation are already aware that that's a bit of an issue in there, so let us have some conversations with them and see what we can come up with, but I don't think really it's a speeding issue. I think it's just more people getting confused when they get through there.
And it does continue after you leave the parking lot, between that and the Sobeys parking lot, there's a lot of close calls, and
Yeah.
I imagine there's a high incidence of collisions there as well, because it's really, almost really difficult for people when they're trying to turn left, either coming out of Sobeys or coming out of the Home Hardware parking lot.
Yeah, it's not the first time this has been discussed, and there's already been a couple of alterations to the intersection on the Kinloch Road, but we'll bring it back up with them and see if we can work on a solution.
And I don't know what the solution is, but maybe if the traffic engineers could look at it and try to come up with something, because it's not good right now.
Yep,
Yep.
very good.
Okay, back to the resolution. Good discussion, though. Any other comments or questions on the resolution? If not, I'll call for the question. All those in favor? Aye. Contrary minded? Motion carried. Okay, I think that's your report, Councilor? Oh, thank you. Thank you. Okay, infrastructure. I'll call on Deputy Mayor Gallant to give his report, the chair of that committee.
Yeah, infrastructure minutes in your package there. We had a meeting on April 17th. We had a full house. It was great to see. the infrastructure memo as follows. 3 tenders were received on April 11th for the installation of additional hydrants in the core area. A resolution will be brought forward this evening to recommend awarding the project to the low bidder. 6 proposal submissions were received on April 10th to design services of the sewer lift station standby generators project, with CBCL Limited scoring the highest in the evaluation process. A resolution is being brought forward this evening to recommend awarding the project to CBCL Limited. Tender documents are being prepared for the construction of the extension of Myrtle Street to allow servicing for 2 additional lots. The tender is anticipated to be advertised by the end of the month, with construction anticipated to begin in July. We are coordinating with the Department of Transportation and Infrastructure to host a public information session at the end of the month. DTI will present the plan for the Glen Stewart Roundabout project set to begin in the end of June, along with the updates on other initiatives planned for the town. Once the date is confirmed, we will send an invitation to council and also advertise on our social media. We would like to remind our utility customers, both residential and commercial, that the sump pump redirection rebate program is ongoing, and we encourage customers to call for more information on the eligibility of the program. After a strong start to the program, it seems to have gone quiet, although we fully expect to see a ramp up with the rainy fall weather. We recommend signing up now while things are quiet and take advantage of funding still available. Infrastructure staff, we're busy at the following: casual staff interview and hiring. Hiring is underway. We have 5 returning seasonal staff members back to work. A few others will be coming back in the next few weeks. Grass cutting has begun in all properties. Speed radar signs have been deployed to access for temporary speed hump locations, to assisted with the setup and tear down the water school, hosted the quarterly meeting, the Capital Region AT Working Group. Spring cleanup and repair work all properties is nearly complete. Maintenance projects have begun in the seniors facility on Much Drive. Acquisition of a new utility tractor and zero-turn mower, which will be delivered early this month. Sewer lift stations cleaned and begun. Approximately 10 stations completed so far along, with jetting and flushing of some gravity lines. Water has been turned on all seasonal buildings except T Hill, which will be turned on in June. Emptying and preparing to move 2 water buildings from Mulgamore Drive and Sundance Lane. They were relocated to Fuller's Wellfield site and used for storage. Prepping to have a contractor address the repairs needed to damaged infrastructure components that require excavation, such as manholes and value boxes. Water and sewer inspections, meter installations, water turn-ons for new development are ongoing. Ongoing inspection and maintenance of water systems and facilities, and managing our ongoing customer resident inquiries and concerns. During the month of April, there were no sewer water emergency, and that is my report there. Any questions from staff? Okay. You're gonna.
I'll leave it up to everybody. I do have a question with respect to some of the hydrant work, but maybe I can leave it for inquiries from council on.
That'd be at number C.
Okay.
Come down to C, you can ask that question, yeah.
Great.
Yep.
Okay, any other comments or questions on Deputy Mayor's report?
Nothing across? Okay. So I'm going to read this resolution, Your Honor.
Yep.
Your Honor, Your Worship. Here we go. And the number INC 003 2020, sit beside a lawyer, I'm getting paranoid. 2025 engineering for sewer lift stations, standby generators, infrastructure led by myself. Oh God, just wait now. Oh, there's a little bump out of here. There we go. Oh, I got the wrong one, hang on. Feel like McDougal here. Remember McDougal? Okay. Okay, number INC 003 to 2025, engineering for sewer lift station standby generators, moved by myself. Whereas proposals were received on April 10th, 2025 from engineering consultants to Complete the design and tendering and contract administration, record drawings and site observation for the sewer lift stations. Standby generator projects consisting of 5 permanent generators to be installed at the following locations: Bayside, East Keppoch, Stonedene, Sky Lane, and Battery Point sewage lift station. Whereas 6 submissions were received and were evaluated by a team of 3 who ranked each submission out of a total score of 100 with the following results. Green PEI Incorporated 67.69, Coles Associated Limited 69.37, Fundy Engineering and Consulting Limited 70.79, EA Engineering 79.7 out of 100, WSP Canada Incorporated 79.7, CBCL Limited 80.72. And whereas CBCL Limited have the highest score submitted, a total estimated price for the design, tender, and contract administration, record drawings, and site observation during construction of $158,000 HST excluded. So which is in line with what is expected for this service. Whereas a capital budget of $1 million HST included was approved and carried for the project, which includes funding from the local leadership for climate adaptation and initiative of the Green Municipal Fund in amount of $400,000. Being it resolved, the design and tender and contract administration and record drawing generation and site observation be awarded to CBCL Limited at approximately amount of $158,000. This resolution bears a recommendation of the Infrastructure Committee via an email poll conducted over the period of April 25th to May 5th, 2025.
Seconder?
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay,
Discussion.
any discussion?
There's one question, Your Worship, for Councillor Glant. The $1 million budget, would that be, is that anticipated to be sufficient for the purchase and installation of the 5 generators? Or is it going to be a case-by-case basis where we have a prioritized list for those 5 sites and we'll keep going until the money runs out, basically?
Jeannie, go. And you noticed there's 3 of them in 67, 69, and 70 are all close, right?
We are certainly hoping that that $1 million will be sufficient for the 5 locations that we've identified. Having said that, of course, once we get estimates from our consultant and we have a better idea, we may have to scale back and cut that back to 3 or 4. We'll have to look at that at the time. But these are the top 5 that we've identified as priorities. We do hope to continue this program with funding further on in the future and have more installed, but we're going to wait and see, but we're hopeful that this will do the 5.
Sure, and I'm just wondering whether there is kind of a scoring system or a prioritization should the funding not be sufficient, because I know we have wild swings in costs and stuff going on. And
Absolutely.
potential for tariffs and all this sort of stuff. So just so that there's no confusion down the road, if we can only do 3 or we can only do 4, that we have some sort of evaluation system to consider one more urgent than another.
And we do. We've identified those at a staff level, and the 5 that are there have been prioritized. I think they're in order the way I have them noted.
Okay.
So it would really be a matter of just taking off the 5th one if we had enough budget for 4, or, yeah.
And hopefully we get them all 5. And then we can
Absolutely. That's what we're hoping for.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other comments or discussion? Just one more, Jeannie. I just had something I would like to
Going far.
ask. In terms of maintenance and operating costs for these generators, these are diesel, are they?
Well, we haven't identified that yet. Part of the exercise will be to note what would be the best suit, whether it's propane or diesel for each site.
Yeah, I know propane, you don't have to change the fuel every 6 months or whatever, and I understand diesel and gasoline, you need to...
I don't think we're changing it out. They do run, whether it be weekly or bi-weekly, they have to run just as a test mode. So you use up a little bit of fuel for that. But we've got several generators here that are sitting full. Not that I'm aware of, haven't had to drain them out. No.
Okay, that was my, I understood that gasoline and diesel only was good for a period of time.
It's very contained. It's not like your gas jug at home maybe that might get
Okay,
contaminated.
so the
right?
operating costs are not a consideration here?
Between propane and diesel?
No, just
Oh, sorry.
the overall operating, that'll be something that'll be dealt with as part of a normal operational costs for the
Right.
utility?
Correct, yes.
Okay. Okay, any other comments or questions then for Jeannie? No?
We're looking at this, Jeannie, there were $1 million in a capital budget, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
we were looking at 158 and 400,000 from Green Fund, Green Municipal Fund.
400,000 is the
Yeah.
contributed funding, yes.
Yeah, so we're still under, it was 558 under less than, right?
158,000 is the design fee.
Yeah, okay,
So that leaves us the remainder to go ahead with the construction.
okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Okay. If there's no more questions, I'll call for the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone against? Motion carried. I believe you have another resolution, Deputy Mayor?
I got another resolution, yep. Number INC 004-2025, additional hydrant and supply and installation in the core area. Moved by myself, Deputy Mayor Gallant. Whereas 3 tenders were received on April 11th, 2025 for the supply and installation of 10 hydrants along Shakespeare Drive and Williams Gate with results as contractor Landmark Construction, $196,210. Island Coastal Services Limited, $216,464.40. Burton McKay Backhoe Services, $247,875. And whereas $300,000 was approved in the capital budget for this project, and whereas a scope change was negotiated with low bidder Landmark Construction to add 4 more hydrants, 2 on Dale Drive, 1 on St. John Avenue, and 1 on Holland Drive. And whereas Landmark Construction agreed to supply and install additional hydrants for $96,000, excluding HST, bringing a total cost for 14 hydrants to a $292,210, excluding HST. Be it resolved that the tender of additional hydrant supply and installation in the core area be awarded to Landmark Construction for $196,210, excluding HST. Be it further resolved that the contract be amended to include an additional 4 hydrants at a cost of $96,000, excluding HST. This resolution bears a recommendation of Infrastructure Committee as discussed at a meeting held on April 17th, 2025.
Okay, do I have a seconder? Oh, thank you, Councillor Cox. Okay.
Yeah,
Discussion.
If I might, I'd appreciate,
but this is, well, just before I go, Councillor, this is,
take the wind out of my sails there.
yeah, we were looking for, we added 4 more hydrants for the month. The tender was under $196,000. We approved $300,000, so we're looking at 4. We're looking at 10 at first. Now we're at 14. And we added 2 on Dale Drive and 1 on St. John and 1 on Holland Avenue, so a total of 14. So we're ahead of the game here in this one. So, but feel free to questions.
No issue whatsoever with the proposed resolution in general, but I do have a question, and I quibbled whether or not to bring it up during the discussion of this resolution, but it's germane because of the topic of the resolution. But I did get correspondence from a member of our community there in Ward 2 having some significant concerns about the lack of hydrant or firefighting, systems or water systems within areas of Ward 2, being Partridge Lane, Ann Crescent, Brandy Lane, and some of those older neighborhoods. And it's Mr. Scott, and he certainly speaks from an area of expertise being in the insurance industry, and he certainly had some concerns about the town's capabilities vis-a-vis firefighting equipment in that area of the town. He does make a good point that it's an older, very well-established neighborhood, very good area of the town. A lot of homes there predate Stratford itself as an incorporated town, and certainly I think there's parts of the ward that feel somewhat left behind in terms of the firefighting equipment. So the number one concern I have, of course, is that we always have to put our wants before our wants in back of our needs, and I certainly think firefighting equipment is a need. And I just want to make sure that absolutely number one, that we can commit to everybody within the town that no matter where you live, there's adequate firefighting capacity to address that. And secondly, if there is a plan to implement sprinkler systems, or not sprinkler systems, sorry, hydrant systems within the areas identified being Partridge Lane, Ann Crescent, and Brandy Lane.
Yeah, I see your concerns. I've talked to Jeannie about that today, and if you go back to, I know our town is in its 30 years anniversary, where some of the areas that are not provided the requirement hydrants, I know what you're saying, and that area, I looked at that area, and it's just a matter of us sitting down, and we don't, I guess, we don't have to, we'll just take the advice of infrastructure, the staff and management, and maybe look at if we wanted to see the other areas, open it up that way. I know we have a plan of, at our downtown core, facilitate that area, and I know different areas spun off here, Dale Drive and St. John Avenue, but I see your concerns are good concerns, Councillor, and I know that it's one of those things that we can talk about. You know, we don't have to make a decision tonight on this. We could, as councillors, we make the final decision. I know you have a good rapport there, but what I'm getting is this is from the management staff of the places, location. I think they spoke to the fire department. I spoke to other services, and these are the locations that they approved.
Yeah, and I don't have a problem with that. I really don't. And if it's part of the plan, I just want to know what the plan is for parts of that ward too, and that's all.
Yeah.
If I can just add to
Yeah.
Councillor Glant's comments there, which are great and very accurate. We do have a plan. We do acknowledge that we have gaps in spacing for hydrants to meet the standards, and whether or not standards changed from 30 years ago, or whether it was budgeting issues that, you know, the decision was made, we'll add them in when we have the money. I can't talk to that, but we acknowledge and we have identified that we have a gap for sure throughout the town. Our initial plan was to address the core area. We are probably 2 more years after this year required to fulfill that mandate, if that's how we choose to continue on. And at that point, we would move into the subdivision areas and identify priorities based on where the biggest gaps are, for sure. So I would, as we stand here today, I would say in 3 years, we should be addressing those subdivision areas, unless the decision is made to change that direction and abandon this core area plan and move to residential sooner.
I don't take issue with the plan, and I know you indicated this in your correspondence probably a month ago now.
Yeah.
And I'm comforted by the fact that there is the plan. It's just as long as we commit to sticking to that plan, seeing it through. I think even Mr. Scott understands the rationale for proceeding with the core area first and moving out from there. I think it's well reasoned, and at a minimum, it's reasoned. And reasonable people might disagree about that, but I can appreciate the wisdom of proceeding in that regard. So as long as that's the plan, as long as we can communicate that to our residents, that there is the plan there, here's why we're doing it in the way we're doing it,
Right.
then, you know, people can disagree about that to a certain extent, and we can respect that. But as long as we identify that there are those gaps and that we're committed to filling them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And
Great.
council has been supportive. We've been carrying that budget the past few years, and we hope to continue that,
Yep.
carrying that budget for infilling the hydrants, so.
Thank you. Oh,
Yep.
Your question about whether there's adequate coverage throughout the town, we do have Superior Tank Shuttle service throughout the town, so they do have the ability to use their tankers, and it's a large container that they fill up and are able to fight the fires. That's the way they've been able to do it for quite some time. It's actually the fire company that identified the core area first with the larger buildings and everything that are going to be built to get those areas infilled.
Yeah.
They were quite concerned about that because those ones are a little bit more difficult to fight with the Superior Tank Shuttle service. So that's kind of a bit of the background on it. But yes, there is adequate coverage throughout the town, was the original question. But
sure.
we do plan to go into those other areas, but
Yeah.
we're going through the identification process that they gave us and said these are the major areas that we should identify first, and then we'll move into those other areas. But those residents are still covered by that Superior Tank Shuttle service.
Great.
Okay.
Yep, thank you for the response, appreciate it.
Just a comment along those lines, Your Worship. I'm expecting, the Director had mentioned there is a plan. I don't know if that plan has been completed for the entire town. And I'm wondering whether, if not, then whether it should be, so that we can have a prioritization list based on equitable standards, identifying the biggest gaps, the biggest risk areas, that sort of thing, and have it laid out for whatever period of time it might take, just by way of a list. Here's what has to be done next, after that, after that, after that. Then council can, future councils can take that chunk by chunk and allocate funding to it and get it done, and the public would know where they stand in relation to that list.
Yeah.
Versus needs of other areas as well. They may be the greatest need, they may be the least need, but whenever a resident identifies something, it becomes very important, rightfully so, to them. And I think the more information that they can access to say, here's the list, where am I at on the list? Okay, great. At least I know I'm being looked at. I think that's important, and it's also important for council to determine how much each year should be budgeted for that particular type of project, and what infrastructure or what grants might come into play to help us along the way. And I think, that'll enable us, council, future councils, to do it piece by piece until it's thoroughly done. You always have, whenever amalgamation occurs, you always have disparities in services from community to community based on what was done or not done in prior communities. But once amalgamation takes place and everybody's paying the same tax rate, everybody's invested in the community, everybody deserves to have that service equalized, and that's what people do recognize. And the greater information available to the public, then the greater the understanding among the public becomes of what's being done and when.
Thank you. I agree, Councillor. I agree 100% with that. Thank you for your thoughtful comments.
Can I just add, I'm sorry, that's a great idea, Councillor Dowling, and we don't have that. We haven't looked at that aspect of what does the entire town need, but I think that's a great point. No different than our fully servicing of the town. We kind of have a phased plan, and I think we will start on that to identify how many hydrants are we missing, and then coming back to planning the budget each year, then we'll have an idea of how many do we want to accomplish? Do we want to get this done in 10 years? Do we want to get this done in 15 years? And then we'll know what kind of a budget that we might want to set every year and start tackling that. So we will definitely work on that and get a big scheme picture put together.
I think
Thank you. Sorry, just a final point. I do appreciate CAO's comment that the fire company is perfectly adequate equipment-wise to be able to deal with fires. I don't want to put it out there that, we're lacking fire hydrants and therefore people are at peril, but
No.
That direct access to hydrants for prolonged fires is always more comforting to people than tanker supplies.
I think this is an excellent discussion, and I think the beauty of the suggestion that you made, Councillor Dowling, is that it does the same as a servicing plan. It's the servicing plan is based on risk, and it's not political, and I think this plan could be the same, take the same approach, and really take the politics out of it, and really base it on risk and where the greatest need is. So those things, I think, are really important elements of any future plan. Anyway, thanks for the discussion. Any other comments or questions before we go to the vote? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone against? Motion carried. Okay.
Your Worship, just on that last point, I no way was insinuating that anyone was bringing forth the recommendations from a political perspective. It was a response to inquiries by residents. I'm just saying overall it works better when you have the list, but I wasn't trying to imply anything along those lines.
No.
I think the transparency within the list is a great idea.
Yeah, but we are elected by the people in our wards and across the town, and we do owe them, if not action on the things, an explanation as to where they're at.
No, we support
And so, there is a certain level of politicalness to some of this stuff that we're not going to get around. I do, now that we're done with that motion, I would like to see us actually talk to the fire company about what the needs are infrastructure-wise, because I'm not sure that we have ample fire hydrant. I'm certain we don't. And, you know, just taking a look at our ability to fight fires in this town, we know we're timing out on a ladder truck. We have to take that seriously, and if it's gonna be more hydrants, if we can't afford to help them with a ladder truck, then we gotta be able to help them in other ways. So I think it'd be nice if there was some kind of study that we could point to with a plan with the fire company. I know we have lots of discussions with them. We haven't made much headway yet, I don't think, on that, so, and I'm not sure who'd do it, but I think it is important. I think we could add more money to the budget every year to get these fire hydrants kind of caught up to where they should be, and would support that. But I would love to see some kind of a study fashioned with the fire company, because I think it's coming to a head here around either increase in rates, just, you know, with expectations around fire coverage. I'd argue the core area, we're 2 minutes from the fire company at all times. These buildings do have sprinklers, as this insurance professional did say. So I don't really agree with I think we need to re-examine that. So I'm going to make a request to Safety Services maybe to look at that, get some kind of a study, even just in conjunction with the fire company, to lay out a plan on what they're looking at and what we're going to have to, how we're going to have to help them. Because I think it's going to come to a head at some point.
Okay, thank you. So the next item on our agenda tonight is the sustainability file, and I'd ask Councillor Jill Chandler, Chair of that committee, to give her report.
Committee of the Whole, missed one.
Pardon?
You missed the Committee of the Whole, that resolution, 14?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm
Yeah.
sorry, I jumped ahead, yeah.
Yeah, I jumped ahead.
Okay, Committee of the Whole resolution is
Myself.
result of the meeting, and I'd ask Deputy Mayor Gallant to move the resolution.
Resolution CW 007, 2025, Canadian Housing Infrastructure Fund. Led by myself, whereas on April 16th, the Government of Canada announced $6 billion over 10 years for the Canadian House Infrastructure Fund, CHIF, to support housing-related water, wastewater, stormwater, and solid waste infrastructure. Whereas housing infrastructure in communities of Canada has allocated $86.2 million over 10 years to Prince Edward Island through the SHIFT provincial/territorial stream to fund community infrastructure aligned with federal housing goals. And whereas the town of Stratford is committed to supporting housing growth as shown through participation in the Housing Supply Challenge and the Housing Accelerator Fund, and has approved 2 eligible projects, capital projects, the Reeves Estate Water Distribution System upgrade and Mason Road Sewer Lift Station upgrades. Being resolved, the application be submitted under CHIP provincial/territorial stream for 83.3% funding for the following projects. Upgrading of the water distribution system in Reeves Estate for $4,637,430. Mason Road Sewer Lift Station upgrades, $2,153,250. And further, it be resolved that the council commits to funding the town's share of eligible costs and assumes responsibility for all ongoing operating and maintenance costs. Just need a seconder.
Okay, yeah, seconder?
I'll second, yeah.
I'm not sure who had their hand up
Oh,
first.
sure.
Okay.
We can speak for Reeves Estate, it's well needed to change the whole water supply there, so it's great to see this moving one of these, moving forward here on the Mason Road, one sewer lift station, the bottom Mason Road there, so on, and that section over behind Birchwood's, the Mason, Clifton Road, Clifton Farms property there, so.
Yeah, no doubt about that. I just have a question about process. So now that if this resolution were to pass, do these projects then go to tender, or what's next?
This is for an application for the
grant.
For the grant.
Champ.
Yeah, we've already approved the resolutions to move ahead with the projects.
We did? Okay.
Tonight, yeah.
So this resolution is to apply for the funding, absolutely. The Reeves Estates, we have already approved the design phase of that, so that's near ready to actually be issued for a tender, which we cannot do until we get funding. So that would go through a tendering process, absolutely. The Mason Road, nothing has been done yet, so if we were to receive the funding, we would put out requests for proposals to begin the design work. And that would all come back for, depending on pricing, for your approvals.
No, you go ahead.
Just along Councilor McDonald's point, for allocating, for putting in request for funding, is this the estimated cost that we're looking for from funding under the CHIF stream, the totality of the costs for the projects?
The prices there are the total estimated cost of the project, correct? So our portion would be the 13.33%?
This,
16.66% would be the town's or the utilities' responsibility of that amount.
And I'm just wondering whether we're telegraphing somewhat from best price scenario to bidders as to what we have available. And would we be more likely to see anyone come in towards the upper end? I know there's no way, I don't know what other option you would have by way of getting approval for the CHIF application, or whether that needs to go through council in this format with those specific, it's out there now, but with those specific cost estimates in there before we've gone to tender for the actual work. Maybe I'm off base, but that's just...
I'm not sure if I didn't hit the first part of that. We do need to submit costing with the applications. Is your concern that we're putting those numbers out there before the capital budgets that we approve every year are public information, and we always have an amount on there that's an estimated project value? I'm not sure if that's the concern that we...
I think there's
We have estimated total budget allocations for projects, but we don't pare it down to specific projects. Do we either say we have an estimated cost?
No, we have each project is itemized with its specific cost in our budget process.
For the hydrant upgrade, we had allocated 300,000, and we got bids down as low as 196,000. So and we added the 4 extra to bring it up to the budgeted amount. So that's a precedent. That's the way the process works.
I understand budgeting a particular amount for projects overall, then going to tender, seeing what the project costs, then making a determination of what we can fit within that bid versus the budgeted amount. That's one thing. But do we have specific cost per project in the budget prior?
Yes. So we would have in our budget document, in our 5-year plan, we would have the Reeves Estates upgrade listed as one project, and we would have $4 million perhaps as our total project cost approved in our budget documents. The Mason Road lift station upgrades would also be identified as a project with a dollar value for a total project cost in our budget documents.
With the $4,637,430.20 seems very specific.
It is very specific. This is because we are almost through the entire design process with a consultant on this particular project, and they were able to give us this cost estimate based on the design they have completed to date. So it would be a very good estimate compared to what we normally have when we're going through budget process, is just us pulling together what we think would be best case, or based on our own experience, what we think the costing would be, which sometimes comes in higher, sometimes comes in lower. This would be a, I believe it's a level C, within 15% of final costs is what they put together this estimate based on the drawings and the design that they have done to date, which is why it's very specific. The Mason Road lift station upgrades is a little higher level because it's just based on what we feel the project will be. We haven't gone out and gotten anybody to do that costing for us at this point. I'm not sure if I'm answering your questions, Councillor Daly.
Maybe it's a good question to put on a committee of a whole.
Yeah, I appreciate what Councillor Dowling
Oh, Ronnie's saying, yeah.
saying, sure, absolutely. I think for me, it's like I said, I mean, absent, some form of collusion, then, bidders on a tender are gonna have to try to compete to get the tender.
Absolutely. They need to be competitive if they want the work, right? So.
But I guess my point being that they're going to be competitive
No, you're
within a
right.
very specific range, knowing that something has been budgeted down to the 20 cents.
Yeah, it's a chicken and egg.
It precludes somebody coming in with the capability and sufficient time frame or appropriate time frame from coming in at 3,600,000.
Yeah, it's a chicken and egg thing, like ideally it would be starting from zero without any kind of knowledge of how much money we were thinking about spending.
Right.
But I think these projects are, people know how much they cost in terms of what's required, and the tender documents are very specific in terms of what the expectations are. So I think it's a matter of, each bidder looking at what their costs would be and building in their, what they think is a profit margin and putting a bid in. So if they want the contract, then they're going to be as low as possible, I would imagine, while at the same time making a profit. So I think every bidder would be in that situation, and depending on who's most efficient would be the winner. But I understand what your point is. Unfortunately, I guess that's the process that we have, and in order to get the project done, we need the funding. In order to apply for the funding, we need to tell them how much we anticipate it costing. So
Yeah.
that's basically the reality. But I understand your point. I'm not sure if there's a way around it. Ideally, as I said, we'd be, letting them go ahead and bid whatever they wanted.
And it may not be an issue, may never have been an issue. It just struck me as a little odd, and perhaps I've noticed it before, but never spoke on it. I don't know.
So is it necessary though, I understand for the application it's necessary, but is it necessary to what Councillor Dowling's saying to actually lay that out in this resolution? Like, do we really have to in the resolution actually lay that out, like, where we say at a price determined by staff estimates or something? I agree. Anyway, we should vote on this one, but I think I've always had concern about that around kind of telemarketing where we're at. It happens to be that we've come in under, and some we've come in over, and some in the past. I guess, the question is just, do we have to, in the resolution, actually lay out? That's ridiculous.
It doesn't have to be that specific.
Yeah.
But we do have to give them the gap. The CHIP funding is.
Oh, I understand that, like that, in the application, just to our level, and then putting it on public record on exactly what the estimated cost is, seems a little
Just
extra.
coming back to the budget document, though, we do have that public information out there for specific projects and
Yeah.
project
Yeah,
costs.
I think
that we're
we should vote on
estimating
this and
at
have
that
another discussion on it further after we vote, maybe.
Okay, any other comments or discussion on this? If not, I'll call for the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone against? Motion carried.
Just while we're here, Your Worship. So I guess this is another question, this is another pet peeve I have. So when we talk about a plan for the fire hydrants, when we see the bids come in well under budget, I guess is our instinct to always try to find more that we can do with the same budget, or can we actually just realize that we come in under sometimes and actually use that in other areas? Like, I guess it's, it's nice to have those 4 extra hydrants, but that's fine if it's in the plan, but like, we're not capitalizing on when we are actually getting better value for our dollar. I think we could, I know there's infrastructure money that we're trying to maximize that, but if we come in $100,000 under budget on something, should we not just maybe sometimes be happy and move those dollars onto something else that's a priority? I guess that's just a question.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Because it's nice to get these, but it also is no consolation to the folks who want one or aren't going to get one. So when it comes in over, yes, we've had to up the ante a little bit sometimes, but when it's under, can we not just say, thank you, good luck on this one, we actually came in under, and we'll allocate our portion of the dollar somewhere else?
Okay,
It's a case by case, I think.
I think,
One thing I would say to that is, when there's funding involved, we would lose a portion of that funding as well. So, and the funding's very specific about what you're doing with the project. So if you can align yourself to do more, I know, Pat, in the past when we did a lot of sewer and water expansions to certain subdivisions, we'd always try to do a little more linear pipe in those areas if the money was there to use up the actual funding that was there. If it was just our dollars in there, I'd fully agree that if we came in under, we probably should have a question of whether we should continue on or not. And you guys did have that option there tonight, but when there's funding involved, we always try to utilize as much funding as we can, because funding dollars are hard to come by.
Yeah, that's fair, especially 83%. So I guess the last thing on this, I'd love to see CAO, mayor, deputy mayor, kind of push this one if possible with our new elected member to make sure that, like, the Reeves thing is a big deal for Ward 3 to get this done. I'd love to see if there's any help that can be, if there's any advocacy that our new member for Cardigan could help with this, lend his weight to it. This is one that has to get done, and you know, if one of them is going to get done and we're more ready for Reeves, it'd be nice to see that move forward.
Yeah, we're looking forward to meeting with him, and hopefully that'll take place in the near future. Okay, moving on. The next item on our agenda is sustainability. I'll ask the chair of that committee, Councillor Jill Chandler, to give her report.
Thank you. I'll just move through this quickly. And this is, these committees meet every second month, so our next committee meeting is scheduled in early June. We're considering a Stratford Business Group relaunch, so a planning session will be held soon to reconnect with the business community in hopes of guiding future collaboration. We haven't really established a date yet. Wendy and I have spoken. Personally, I think it's really important that we have regular communications and engagement with the business community. I think it's a very important group, and I would love to have that working relationship with them, especially as things continue to change in the landscape, et cetera. Tomorrow is the 30th anniversary legacy book launch, the celebration of 30th anniversary. And the Diversity and Inclusion Subcommittee will launch the book tomorrow, and all are welcome to attend and reflect on Stratford's past and future, of course. And it begins at 4, is that right, Wendy? So there's a meet and greet between 4 and 4:30, and then the more kind of formal part of the event starts at 4:30. I will be emceeing that, and I'm proud to say that my dad, Don Chandler, is one of the residents who is in the legacy book. So, water school program successfully concluded for grade 5 students in Stratford, Charlottetown, and Cornwall. Featured a new stream table loaned by the PEI Watershed Alliance that demonstrated the role of infrastructure in protecting waterways. Residential tree planting program well underway. Site visits are happening with planting set to begin mid to late May. Trees are sourced from the Wood Group Nursery, and interest, of course, has been high, as it has been in other years. And summer staff, 2 students have been hired to support tree planting, forest management, and other environmental initiatives this summer. And that kind of is a quick summary of that
Great, thank you.
portfolio. Yes, any questions?
No, just agree on the engagement with the business community. I always do appreciate hearing the ads on the radio with respect to Stratford businesses. I think it does have an impact, and so more outreach we can do, and to ensure that they understand that, you know, we're fully behind the business community here, and we're always looking to see that increase and grow. And so I absolutely agree with you, Councillor Chandler, on that point.
Okay, any other comments or questions?
Just on the residential tree planting, I see that folks are excited about, a lot of participants. If there are any extra, I know I asked before, can some of the folks get more than? Like to see get them all out, and I know certain areas have had some maritime electric damage to their trees, pretty much all through the town, but.
I don't have an exact number. CADAF obviously manages this file, but I think at last count there were like a handful, like less than 10, maybe 4, 5, 6 kind of left. And I know she was following up, or I understand she was following up with a few people that may be able to get the second. So we're definitely going to use up the 50 for sure.
That's great,
Yeah.
Wendy, thank you. And just a reminder too, for on the sustainability side for folks, I think the Solwig AGM is coming up next week.
Yep.
Next Wednesday, and they, I'm not sure if they have it planned again, and maybe I missed it, but they used to have a session at Cotton, and they would have sell memberships and have smaller tree giveaways, so there might be an opportunity there for folks.
Yeah, I'm not 100% on this, but my understanding in talking to them probably a month or so ago, like a lot of people, they're struggling to get trees right now because the province is rolling out a lot of their own, and it's been a struggle. So I'm not sure if they'll be able to. I think they were looking at seeing what other sourcing they may be able to get. But I haven't heard of an actual tree planting event. But yeah, it's the
Okay.
21st, which I think is next Wednesday.
Thanks,
is
yeah,
their-
and
is
yeah,
their AGM. Yep.
nice if as many of us can go as possible to that. Thanks.
If I can just add one thing to that, it's okay, it's just a comment. But I used the tree planting program last 2 years, and if I wasn't moving, I would use it a third time, and I might still use it, but,
Can't take the trees with
and also, I used the other program that was distribution, the $5 trees kind of thing, or I guess they were free last year. And the provincial one, right now, at my summer home, we have over 100 trees. They're coming out to put in over 100 trees at our summer property. So that's provincially. We just put a question in, ask them how much, and they're going to come out and they're going to plant them for us. So that's the difference in the programs. But I strongly suggest, like the one in Stratford is an excellent program. And every year I have people say to me, I wish you would have told me, like it's my job, that this program was underway.
Yep.
Another Sobeys conversation. But anyway, it's really an excellent program. These trees are worth anywhere $200 or $400 a tree. And for $50, you dig the hole, they put it in the hole, and put the mulch and everything. It's an excellent.
Okay, thank you. Okay, any other comments or discussion on the sustainability report? If not, I believe you have
Yep,
part of the transit report?
Yes, the most recent transit graph is in your package, and I guess in observations, ridership in this year has been consistently lower than 2024 levels in the same months, but we are showing a gradual month-over-month increase, which is positive, and if that trend continues, then the projection would be that we will surpass last year's riders in this month, if it continues to trend that way. So we'll keep you up to date on that, and it's my understanding that we will have a meeting with the provider sooner than later, I hope, to discuss changes to the transit route to allow people to travel easier within the community. So we'll hear more information on that.
Okay, thank you. Any comments or questions on the transit report? Okay, we'll move on to intergovernmental affairs and accountability, and I believe that's your committee as well, Councillor Chandler.
Yep. Since the last meeting, the committee's made strong progress on several fronts and continues to engage with provincial and federal partners to advance Stratford's strategic goals. Some of the highlights include, as you know, this committee developed and distributed federal election written form questions to Cardigan candidates in advance of the election. Having ongoing discussions with Charlottetown and Cornwall on shared services in transit, active transportation, and climate action. Explored digital tools to boost citizen engagement and feedback. Participation at the FPEIM annual meeting, covering topics such as climate action, land use, housing, AI innovation, and municipal tariff proofing. Continued collaboration with provincial and federal reps on funding and the revenue sharing agreement. I believe there was recent meetings with Stratford MLAs, covered a range of topics. Staff are updating the results matter, key performance indicators, and will share progress at the next meeting. Annual resident survey closed in April, and the results are expected in June. And senior staff attended the Eastern PEI Chamber Awards Gala, where the Shape Stratford Consult was nominated, which offered great exposure for the town.
Well, thank you. Any comments or questions on the intergovernmental affairs and accountability report?
Mr. Worship, just in relation to premature, but in relation to the revenue sharing agreement, where are we at with that currently, as far as finalization goes?
We did bring that up with the Minister of Finance. We don't have the agreement in place yet. We have the numbers and we know what we're getting. We did bring up with the Minister also the fact that if there is a point where the agreement is not negotiated next time, that there'd be some type of retroactive amount for us, and they were going to look into that. Maybe that's why we haven't got the agreement yet, I hope. But we did indicate that, like, if we get the end of the 2-year period and then negotiations go on for a year, that there is something that comes to us and we don't remain stagnant for a year.
And I also brought that up with the FPIM Board of Directors as well, and there's commitment. The other thing we brought up at the meeting with the MLAs was the need to start negotiating right away, because this is a 2-year bridging agreement that hopefully will lead to a permanent agreement within, that never has to be looked at, that's protected from inflation and escalating costs and that sort of thing. So hopefully we can reach that over the next 2 years.
So already we're looking at different dynamics in relation to market values for different things, equipment and services and stuff, with what's going on with the states, tariffs and increases. So, it's we're always going to be playing catch up in that sense. So the more we can get ahead of it by way of confirming agreements early on, then the better we're able to, or future councils are able to plan.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right.
The other thing we did bring up is our base rate and our planning rate went up, but the rate for policing and I would say emergency services did not increase.
Yeah.
That's a concern. So we made that very well known as well.
And those both had major increases since the last agreement expired. Okay, the one thing I did want to mention as well is that we have a new member of parliament for our riding here, Cardigan riding, and we did have a meeting before the election, and he was very supportive of the Stratford initiatives and the things, especially the community campus, and we're hoping to work with him, have a meeting with him as soon as possible, to really finalize the federal contribution to the funding we have for the community campus. We already have, and the wellness center at the community campus. We already have an agreement of support from the provincial government. The fundraising has been very successful. We have commitments from, a lot of donors, potential donors to contribute money, but it's all preconditioned on the federal contribution, and it's something that we're going to be very aggressive in pressing. I've met with another MP, an Island MP, and he is supportive, and so hopefully we will be able to, and we do have a new minister, Minister Heath MacDonald, Minister of Agriculture. Hope to meet through our MP. We hope to set up meetings with the minister and get his support, as well as some other federal ministers that'll hopefully be visiting PEI in the near future, to really make them aware of the project and to seek their support as well. So, but that's something that's the other shoe waiting to fall, and as soon as it does, we're going to be able to move ahead with the Community Campus Wellness Center.
Would you set up a meeting with Minister McDonald when you're in Ottawa, Steve?
I will be setting up, I think it's protocol-wise, we should meet with our member of parliament here first.
Yeah.
Kent,
Okay, yeah, you're
MP
right.
Kent McDonald. So
Yeah.
as soon as, at that meeting, then we'll ask that he set up, he meet with us, with
Yeah.
the minister and with other federal ministers as well. Because I think it's really important that we get and speak to as many people as possible, and we've done an economic impact analysis of the project, and it's a really positive thing, not only for Stratford and for the whole region, but for the whole island. It is a really positive, it would be a very positive development, and would really be a good infrastructure project, and it would be something that would contribute to a healthier economy here on PEI. Yeah, any other comments or questions on the Intergovernmental Affairs Accountability Report?
Is the Housing Accelerator Fund still on the table now with, I know the new Minister of Housing is the mayor, used to be the mayor of Vancouver. I was watching TV last night, he talked about the Housing Accelerator Fund, so hopefully it's still on the table.
Yeah, as long as we get the results that and we are getting the results that was one of the conditions of the receiving further funding, and as long as those results keep are are positive, then, and we're complying with the conditions, and we'll be getting the funding that has been promised to us. Okay, if there's no other comments or questions, we'll move on to the next item. Thank you for your report, Councillor Chandler.
Sure. Thank you.
And so is there any inquiries by any members of council, anything about the town, around the town? If not, we'll move to other committees. The Stratford Seniors Complex, I'll ask Deputy Mayor Gallant to give the report for that committee.
Okay, let's just, yeah, thank you, Your Worship. Working with the Infrastructure Department to plan capital projects based on the Building Assessment Report. We met with infrastructure staff to discuss maintenance items for the spring. Infrastructure staff has started to do spring maintenance on the garden and the front entrance of the senior complex, led by Heidi, and received finalized financial statements for the seniors complex for December 31st, 2024. Received a new agreement from Canada Mortgage and Housing Corporation. Kim and Paulette met with CMHC to go over new requirements for the agreement. Apartment number 5 is now vacant, and we're in the process of showing the unit to people who are on a waiting list. Review and replace the reserve funds to figure out which capital projects are completed in the current year, and there are currently 31 people on the waiting list. So our maintenance is going to be taken over by the building. Everybody's quite aware, but 2 staff members from the town of Stratford, and our Heidi's looking after our flower beds and so on. And I met last week with residents, myself and Ed Robillard, who was on the seniors committee, and we went door to door, talked to the residents, and looking for tenant insurance. And we went through 16 doors, and we threw all the doors, probably 2 or 3 persons without tenant insurance, and next day, everybody had tenant insurance. So it was a cheap cost. It was $170, $40,000 plan, and they were very responsive on that. And it's great to talk to the residents and their needs and wants. And my partner Ed, he commented on the building, walked in the building. He goes, he couldn't believe it. It was the first time in the building how clean it, like how well established it is and everything else. And he said, I might come here. He says, but anyways, he just he was really impressed, and the staff were really impressed on moving forward with Kim and Paulette's suggestions and so on. So everything's coming together, but it takes time, but we're moving forward with this situation.
Great, thank you. Any comments or questions on the seniors complex report? Okay, if not, we'll go to, thank you for your report, Deputy Mayor. We'll go on to appointments to committees. No appointments to any committees? No? Okay, proclamations. I have 2 proclamations. First one is Huntington Disease Awareness Month. Whereas Huntington disease is an inherited genetic brain disorder that grips a number of families here on PEI, and whereas Huntington disease causes cells and parts of the brain to die, and as the brain cells die, a person with HD becomes less able to control movements, recall events, make decisions, and control emotions. It is described as having ALS, Parkinson's, schizophrenia, and Alzheimer's all at the same time. And whereas each child of a parent with Huntington disease has a 50% chance of developing it themselves, and whereas to date there are no drugs to slow or stop the progression of Huntington disease, only specific drugs available to ease some symptoms. However, research within Canada and globally is ongoing, and it holds promising options for treatments for the future. Therefore, be it resolved that I, Steve Ogden, Mayor of the town of Stratford, do hereby proclaim May 2025 as Huntington Disease Awareness Month, and urge my fellow citizens to learn more about the disease, and for those living with or with a loved one living with the disease, encourage you to find support through the Huntington Society of Canada PEI chapter. In witness thereof, I have set my hand and caused the seal of the town of Stratford to be affixed thereon. And I signed this 14th day of May 2025. There's also another proclamation, Melanoma and Skin Cancer Awareness Month. Whereas it is imperative that communities across Canada be reminded of the importance of our safety. And whereas overexposure to UV radiation is one of the major causes of melanoma and non-melanoma skin cancers. And whereas skin cancer is the most common of all cancers, 1 in 6 Canadians born in the 1990s will get skin cancer in their lifetime. And whereas many people seek sun without taking advisable precautionary measures and are unaware that any darkening of skin color, including a tan, is indicative of UV damage. And whereas skin self-examination should be performed on a monthly basis because skin cancers are highly treatable when detected early. And whereas Save Your Skin Foundation is dedicated to the fight against non-melanoma skin cancers, melanoma and ocular melanoma, through nationwide education, advocacy, and awareness initiatives. Therefore, be it resolved that I, Steve Ogden, Mayor of the Town of Stratford, do hereby proclaim May 2025 as Melanoma and Skin Cancer Awareness Month in Stratford. In witness thereof, I have set my hand and caused the seal of the Town of Stratford to be affixed thereto. And I signed it this 14th day of May 2025. So Huntington disease and skin cancer and melanoma are really top of awareness and action for the month of May.
Yeah, could I make one comment on that?
Sure, go ahead.
Just on a personal note, as people know, I lost my husband almost 12 years ago, and many people think that he died as a result of brain cancer, but he actually died as a result of melanoma that had metastasized to his brain. And at that time, he was in his 40s, we were in Nova Scotia, and I thought it was a very unique circumstance to us. But when we were at the hospital, there was 3 other men in their 40s, all with the same diagnosis. And just to drive the point home, Prince Edward Island and Nova Scotia have the highest instances of melanoma in the country. So, yeah, it is. And you can speculate as to why. It could be, agriculture, fishing, et cetera, like continued exposure to the sun in some of our industries. But yeah, we should all be aware that it is significant and we're all, I guess, potentially at risk. And we do live in an area with higher instances than the rest of the country. So, thanks.
Okay, thank you for that. Thank you. Okay. Any other comments? If not, we'll move on to other business. Any other business anyone would like to bring to the table at this time?
Well, I'm going to bring up National Nurses Week. This is National Nurses Week. I'm married to a nurse, and so I'm just going to bring up just to say how proud we are to have people like people in that professional field doing the work they do. So this week is National Nurses Week to all the nurses out there.
Yeah, I agree. That's they do a really.
And personally, I want to congratulate my daughter, who graduated RN degree from PEI yesterday.
Oh, is that ever nice? Congratulations.
So,
There you go.
Yeah, that's great. Good. Yeah, I always say you can't pay nurses and teachers enough. I just find that they go above and beyond and just create so much good in society and do so much positive for a lot of people, a lot of families. Anyway, any other comments or any other business anyone would like to bring to the table?
I forgot to mention during my report that we have 2 new staff members that started with us in the planning department. And forgive me if I get these names wrong, but Isuri Ganaratha, she's our new GIS technician, great addition, lots of experience, and going to be a great addition to the planning department. And Veronica Arredondo is the new planning clerk. So they're both joining our Stratford team, and we're very happy to have them with us. So you'll see them around the hallways.
Welcome.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, I saw a couple
I
new
think
people there. Didn't.
Planning is a really high demand area and a lot of expectations, and it's really a part of, a big part of our business. So it's good to have adequate staff in there. So that's great.
and I think we had also a person announce the retirement in the last couple of days, did we not?
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
I know.
Mary McCaskill, yeah, that's right. We're gonna miss her, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mary.
But she's going to be around for another
Oh, no, I just want to give her a shout
another
out.
month? Till the end of June? Okay. Okay.
That's
I
right.
know, I just want to give her a shout out.
We're gonna save our longest meeting ever for your last meeting, so, by the sound of Councillor McDonald's.
Our first bridge meeting.
Yeah. No, that's great.
Okay, if there's no other business, I'll call for a motion for adjournment. Okay, we're now adjourned. Thank you.